I'm very proud of my incredibly bad dad joke in the opening.
Oh God.
It is 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you are tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. If this is Chip Chat, welcome to Chip Chat. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
And as per usual, Tez is reading like a nerd.
Yes.
But this is a book that I brought in.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Look at you.
Next thing you know, you're going to start writing stuff for the show. Okay, let's not say things we don't mean.
I know trivia sound of like, nope. It is there.
You got it. All right, so welcome. This is a special edition.
Yes, as
of Chip Chat, because we have somebody important who's going to be joining us. The author of this book,
yes.
Right? Ashley Iman is going to join us. The book is called Ruby René Had So Much to Say. You have a few minutes before we talk to her to go run out and order that off of your favorite app. I don't know what else, where people buy books anymore.
I would say there are a lot of great local bookstores that you can get it from. I don't know if I have questions around the splits between those bookstores.
Well,
and,
we can ask.
Big Bezos and them. But yes, I'm always interested with authors of where like books are at, and like obviously I assume directly you can purchase this as well.
I assume you can, although I just Googled it. And
where did you purchase it from?
I purchased it from Bezos.
Okay, all right, it's okay. That's not a bad thing.
Publishing. It's not like it's
exactly.
It's going to be hard to find. I'm sure you can get it.
I have questions obviously about
the book, big outfit,
but I also have questions about that, like the structure of like.
You should be impressed. I read a book.
I am.
It's got like several pages.
It does. It does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna talk to Ashley in a little bit. Here, you ready for this? I'm warning everybody in advance of the level of groan that you're about to experience.
God.
This week, Jack Smith learned how to use the strike-through feature while simultaneously asking the 11th Circuit to fire a cannon. Yes, correct response. Speaking of cannons,
it's so bad.
Trump is trying to see how much of the military can piss off at once.
I like cannons.
Yeah.
To the arsenal.
The Prince William cannons?
Yeah.
There you go. Are they? They're the Fred Nats now, right? That was the old Prince William cannon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We're gonna debate things.
Yippee.
I stand by my statement. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay.
You can convince me otherwise. We will have Ukraine updates this week. I did remember to write them into the show.
No one cared.
They're gonna care. Stuff's happening.
Go Blue.
There you go. Thank you. Speaking of which, Michigan's back. We start Saturday night against Fresno State. Don't laugh, because I laughed about App State and look at what happened.
We should have a conversation on Jimmy and his departure, and who has the coaching helm now, and how I feel like
he's 1-0 against Ohio already.
Yeah.
Coach Moore is like the shit. What are you talking about?
I'm not arguing that. I just
hate
wonder,
it because we have a black coach now.
No, I'm wondering if when the NCAA eventually decides to come down on them, like, will he be the one to take?
They already did. They suspended Harbaugh again. They're like, you can't coach
if he
in college anymore for the next 4 years. And he's like, okay, I'm the
Are they
coach of
done
San
with
Diego
penalties?
now.
I don't know. Is the
Yeah,
okay.
they're all done.
All right. I don't
And
know.
they handed St. Jimmy of Ann Arbor a penalty that he can walk away from. Like, he's going to do what? Oh no, I can't take this job that I don't have anymore.
Didn't the NFL end up punishing Tressel from that one time? I gotta look that up, but I feel like they punished Tressel when he went. Where did he get up coaching out of?
Well, he left Ohio in
and then
disgrace, and then I think he went to
exactly.
Youngstown State, if I remember.
Wasn't he in the NFL for a short, hot period?
Not as a head coach.
Hold on.
Regardless, Harbaugh's fine.
Okay, I hear you.
Somebody today told me there should be an asterisk next to our championship, and I was like, "What? A cheeseburger shaped one? That's ridiculous." Anyway, also we're gonna try to send a telegram.
No,
that's going to be like a kind of TES talk because it involves things that
Send
I
a
don't
telegram,
understand.
but I know the telegram we actually.
You get the thing right. That was 2 bad jokes.
These are 2 bad jokes.
I'm proud of myself. Don't be proud of me. Okay. Do you have a word? We're thinking.
Yeah. What do I heard?
I've got a word. We'll see.
I got one.
Okay. So sit back, grab some
Pens.
It's confrontation time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
All right, well, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping up?
Okay, so Ashley Iman is an author who has written, I would say, one of the most important books, kids' books of all time, maybe books of all time, in that it speaks directly to me and likely to a lot of other people. And now she's kind enough to join us on our show. Ashley, welcome to Chip Chat.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, we're very excited to have you here. So let's start by asking, I think, what is on many people's mind. How many people tell you that they see themselves in Ruby René?
Basically, everyone I speak to about this book says that. And I am so confused because where were all of these other talkative children when I was in elementary school getting in trouble for talking too much? But I'm really glad that it's resonating with people.
It is a tremendous thing. I obviously didn't inspire this book, although I'm going to take credit for it anyway. But
oh God, it's never ending shamelessness on the show.
But there is this weird thing that happened to me because of how much I talked that I did inspire something to change. I don't know if I probably have told the story about adding the 5th son in the Seder at my Hebrew school. That, you know, in Jewish tradition, there's the 4 children who ask the questions, you know, at Passover, and they go from like the complicated one to the wicked one to the one who doesn't even know how to ask. And these are supposed to be the 4 different ways to explain the story. And then at my synagogue, the rabbi added a 5th one called the kid that doesn't shut up. What should you do with that kid? And I was like, oh, I've inspired literary greatness. And then this comes along, and this is much better, I think.
Yes, I would agree.
So we couldn't help but notice that the solution, I don't want to give the book away,
Right.
but that the solution that the teachers and the school comes up with for how to deal with a kid like Ruby René is something that we here also came up with. So do you have radio ambitions of your own?
In my absolute dream world, I am a morning edition host for NPR.
Me too.
I love public radio, and I would quit my job in a heartbeat if I got that job.
I feel like she's already on this
Yeah,
show.
it's like,
That is
that's why I
basically
show up
our
every
whole-
Thursday. I'm waiting to get drafted.
Yeah,
I gotta
right.
do some more work first.
That's our whole gig.
Yes.
This is wannabe NPR, but with cussing.
Yes. Yeah. Where NPR comes to cuss.
This is true. Many NPR reporters and hosts have come here to unload a tirade of 4-letter words.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So if you were an NPR host, do you want to give us your best, let's say, NPR synopsis of the book? And you don't have to do the voice or anything if you don't want to, but it would help if you made up an impossibly good public radio name.
Oh my goodness. Okay. See, it's hard to come up with a fake one because I know all of the real ones. And in my mind, I'm immediately I'm Audie Cornish. That, she's my dream.
She was fantastic.
Actually, you already have the radio name.
Yeah.
It's already
Ashley
there.
Iman's a great
It's
radio
there. I'm
name.
like, what are we talking about? Create one. It's definitely
Have you
already
ever
there.
used that little NPR name generator?
I've seen. I've not used it.
But if you already have a very NPR kind of a name, it struggles with it. It's like, oh, John Smith.
doesn't work. Nicholas Warmington does not work.
Yeah, well,
Too
that's
long.
a pretty.
It's too long.
That's pretty NPR.
It's too not for radio. It's too
very
long.
BBC.
It's very BBC. Yes.
Yeah.
It's very BBC out there. Actually, I had a question.
No, wait, let her give the thing.
Go, my
I want to
All
hear. Okay, ready? We'll count you in. You're gonna do your best public radio synopsis of the book.
Yes.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Ruby René is a curious 8-year-old girl, and she loves to share facts with her friends. The only problem is she cannot stop talking in class. So what's a girl to do? With the help of her teachers and her family, she finds the right outlet to share all of her cool facts with her friends. Read along to find out. I don't know. Was that good?
There you go.
Just
perfect. Yeah. And give money for a pledge drive.
Yes. Soon.
Yeah.
Yes, it never stops.
If you donate now, you can get this book.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool if we could get the Ruby René Had So Much to Say as one of the thank you gifts for donating to WAMU or whatever?
That would be really dope.
I think we
A
could.
dream.
We are friends
We
with
are friends.
with. Did you find out? Did you hear it today?
I haven't. No, I've been out of it.
It turns out Esther Chamakili is Batman. We had all suspected this, but she admitted to it live on the radio.
Wow. There it is.
Yeah, breaking news.
I will say I have Esther Chamakili's phone number, so I basically died when that happened. So
Yeah, she is fantastic.
Yes, it just.
We're gonna do an Oscar special together.
Oh wow.
Yes, I'm gonna. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Play the straight man.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Did I
Bell.
Okay. All right.
Okay. She's gay if you don't get the joke.
Yes,
That's the joke.
That's
Okay.
funny. This is good God.
Yeah. Very proud of that one. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, sorry, because as you mentioned the name piece, I forgot you had the question, so I didn't mean to cut you off there. Ashley, my question is around, I seen inside the book, there was a mention of a podcast, and I found that to be almost very interesting in the sense of times have moved forward, right? And including what's happening now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inside of the book, I guess the question really is are you conscious about adding that in the sense of making it more relatable? Because it just struck me a little bit. I was like, oh wow, yeah, of course kids
listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, that was the publisher. When I wrote it, my original draft said public radio because
Exactly.
I'm a child of the 90s, right? So I was writing it as if I was Ruby and I was listening to public radio, right? And the publisher said, I don't think they do that anymore. We got to change it to podcasts.
Okay.
They have a whole word for this. They're called backseat kids. I was a backseat kid. You were a backseat.
Yes.
We grow up to become these people who have our own backseat kids.
It's just, it's not because that was, you hit exactly on it. I was like, well, especially just mentioned your love for public radio. It was would you, I wouldn't think to even write podcasts in there. I would write radio as well too. But yeah, a publisher can be like, hey, yo, we here to sell these books.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right.
Nobody knows who Click and Clack are anymore.
Exactly.
Get
Oh
it.
my God. Yeah, anyways. Oh God. Oh, my great Saturday morning.
Oh
God.
my, yeah, it was the best.
Oh my God, getting misty eyed. Think about that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's fine, right? Because I too have moved forward to like I listen to NPR on the app now, so like I get it and it's fine, but it's still NPR. It's still public radio.
I'm over the air.
You are very over the air.
I'm very over the air, and I even enjoy like when I have to go to Staten Island, which is not a thing I enjoy. The trip up to Staten Island means I cross several markets, and I enjoy the progression from AMU to TMD to XPN to NYC, sometimes with little HYY in the middle. So like there's a whole, you can run that public radio up the East Coast and it's joyful.
Yeah, I will turn off Marketplace if I hear it at 6 o'clock because I want to listen to it by myself. I want to listen to it actually in the podcast.
You want to study it. Speaking of which,
yes, there you go.
Brings us to it's a great segue. Okay, so Tez,
yes,
this is a great opportunity here.
Yeah.
We have an actual author of a successful book for children. Tell Ashley about Daddy Bucks, and then Ashley, we want you to chime in and explain to us how many Daddy Bucks should be earned from reading this fantastic.
Right, let me go to the ledger to make sure I get.
He's got the ledger.
Make sure it's there. All right, so Ashley, this was a concept the other day, like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I went to the library and I have emerging 6-year-old who's just started first grade, and we're just having some difficulties, like not in the reading category, and I was just like, nope, we got to fix this, right? So I was like, all right, what can I do? Like, what can I create, like an incentive structure, right, to make this? So I created this thing called Daddy Bucks, right? So I took
inspired by your hero, Jay Powell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I became my own central bank. And I went ahead and I printed up some money. I didn't have the magic. I printed up some money, which is on purple construction paper. And
purple?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
It does work. And I went ahead and I wrote dollars, and only in dollar denominations at this point. We haven't introduced any other dollars yet. So we'll move closer to that when inflation rises. But there was a structure, right? So you could earn these Daddy Bucks, right? And like you get $1 for cleaning your room, but you can only do that once a day. Like if you have cleaned it multiple times, just can't keep cleaning it. One time a day, you can earn that. If you read a whole biscuit book with no help, it would have been $5. If you read a whole biscuit book with some help, it'd be $2. 3 pages of the summer packet were $2. Try to read a new biscuit book, $1. And then you could spend these things on a variety of things. If you wanted to watch 1 hour of PBS Kids, that would be $2. If you wanted 1 hour of whatever you wanted to watch, it'd be $3. A movie was $5. She has like a Paw Patrol game, which is propaganda, but that's a different story. It was $5. And then if you wanted to play Mario on the Switch, it was $10, right?
I like that the cheapest option is PBS Kids. Of course it is.
Exactly.
That's what you want to incentivize.
Exactly.
I'm your thumb on the scale.
Oh, yeah, of course I'm about that. Exactly. It's not a free market.
It's very planned economy.
It's just a planned economy, yo.
Yeah.
But yes, that is, and I guess your question is.
So the question is, how many Daddy Bucks should a rendition of Ruby René be worth? And I would add to that, if you do like the Nina Totenberg thing where you give the voices to the different characters in the book, do you get more Daddy Bucks? Ashley.
See, this is a tough one. Because on the one hand, I think like the voices turns it into an entire performance, right? Yeah. At this point, we're basically on Broadway, and we need to like pay a little bit for that.
Top dollar.
Highly agree.
It's top dollar, you know.
You gotta support the artist.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we want to teach them from the very beginning that we invest in the arts, right? This is important.
Yes.
On the other hand, though, I kind of want it to be on the level of PBS Kids, because I think that, like, you know, it's important that we give kids opportunities to, like, you know, I don't know, like, experience. Like, it's a fun book. Yes, it's a fun book, but it also is like a lesson in the same way that PBS Kids is also like a lesson, right? And so I'm going to say $2.
So you only get $2 for reading the book?
This book, if she reads this,
look, I would say you get a lot.
I might drop. We might have to print a new bill.
This is very word dense for a 6-year-old.
So yeah, if she gets through this here, yeah, I got to make new bills. I will have to probably create a $10 and a $20 book.
Yeah, I think it's a very valuable book.
Yes, I would say, yeah. I would. Yes, we might have to.
And if she does the voices, even more.
The voices, you guys kind of messed me up with.
You know, have you thought about doing this is my next question, which really gets to it. Have you thought about like a series featuring Ruby René?
Actually, yes. The second book is already done, and we're in the process right now of editing it and getting it all getting it illustrated. So definitely.
How about this is just a pitch here? Ruby René comes on Chip Chat. That would be a great book. A lot of people would buy it. Many people are saying it would be the best book ever.
My God! It just so I apologize on behalf of.
If we can find a little Ruby René, I think I'm a little old to be the 8-year-old. Absolutely, let's make it happen.
I think so. It writes itself. Think about it. She gets so famous doing school radio. She gets invited to a local public radio broadcast.
Oh God, I know you thought this out way too much.
And she kills at it, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the mothership calls. Hey, we need you on All Things Considered.
Right?
Do you have a suit?
Yeah.
Right.
And of course she has a suit.
Right.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes, of course she does.
Look at her. She learned about him on a podcast.
Ashley, another question I had. Can you tell us about like your reading journey? I don't know. I might be misremembering this or associated with the wrong person, but I feel like it might have been James Baldwin who was like, after you read and read and read, you just eventually you be right is the next thing. So I'm interested on your journey and like through reading and your love of books.
Oh my God. I love reading. I've always loved reading. I have to attribute that to my mother. She taught me how to read at the age of 3. And I was reading independently by 4. If you know Stephanie Petway, you'll understand why she is the way that she is. She tells people like without any kind of shame that she kind of coasted through school. No one really paid a whole lot of attention to her. And she graduated high school not really fully being able to read. Like she was kind of like what we in the profession would now call functionally illiterate. And she was a little embarrassed about that at the time, but then was determined to make sure that did not happen to any of her children. She later obviously, went on to like be a truly excellent reader. She's graduate degrees, and I'm incredibly proud of her. But she was very, very adamant that we were going to not just know how to read, but that we were going to love it, right? So we would spend hours in the library, and I really think it made me who I am today.
That's impressive because my mom left me in the library once to teach me to notice that she was not there.
Yeah.
Didn't work. She came back several hours later and she's like, I was gone. I was like, yeah, and
the library has
I was
so
in
much
the library.
To do. Yeah, it's like,
I was like, I don't care about
5 hours in the library and not know
I would just stay there anyway. There. Also, key point, while that maybe worked on both of you, not on me.
What?
I
don't know. I don't read.
Yeah, he's not really. Yeah.
Books are for nerds.
I know, right? This is crazy, right? I come here every week with a book that is usually we're not having the book right now because this is the book we talk about.
Yes, that's right.
But usually I have
you're in the middle of a relatively dense one time it was like an 800-page book.
Oh yeah, post-war.
Yeah,
it's really great. But also too, I think the reason a few days this week I didn't take time out to read in my day, and the days I don't take time out to read are very frustrating for me. I can feel it because it's now become, I think, and I don't want to sound like back in my day.
Go ahead.
Like with the technology, obviously I'm in front of screens all day or on them, and even if I can get about 30 minutes to just sit and read, it kind of allows me to decompress. I usually do it in the morning before I go to work. And it's a time to not be doing something else. Again, audiobook people feel free to listen and read, whatever. I'm not hating on that. But I do think picking up a book, holding it, sitting down, focusing on the actual words can be difficult. I found I think I was away from reading for a while. And when my daughter was born, I wanted her to see me with a book in my hand. Because if not, she's not really she won't get the love for that. But then even in the beginning, I was like, damn, I forgot. To have the focus to sit down and read, that took time to build.
I get that from a magazine or a newspaper.
But your book's just not for you.
Yeah, well, it's hard. You got to find them and remember where you are. I'd read the whole article. New Yorker articles are 10 pages long sometimes. It takes forever. Yes. It's not a book. Books are for nerds.
I think there's something to be said though about like slowing down and actually getting lost in a longer book. I agree. I think when I don't read in a day, and I don't mean like read for work, I mean like actually like spend time with myself and read, I don't feel like myself, honestly.
I think that's a good message to send, because people should invest in a thing like that, whether it's reading or not. But to take the
something
time.
to just
I
like
struggle at it.
a walk, and like again,
that's what I do.
Anything that can remove, but like removing the phone piece of it, and just like again, these things are here to stay. So I'm not trying to rally against those, but finding a time to do that, I think, is helpful.
So speaking of that kind of thing, though, when this becomes a hit cartoon show on PBS,
obviously, that's the first thing I thought.
Very definitely going to
happen.
happen.
That's the first thing I thought.
Who's going to do the voices, and do you need some charming radio hosts to also be on the show?
Well, we absolutely need some charming radio hosts. It's so funny that you say that, because I have been saying that since before we even had the picture, when I just wrote the script, wrote the manuscript. I was like, I want a PBS Kids show, not like specifically a PBS Kids show. That's what I wanted. And, hopefully the right people are listening. I think we need someone sharing more cool facts with kids.
Yes. And that it's a kid who does it like for fun and like doing research. Because, there's PBS Kids has great shows with facts, right? Wild Kratts, my kids are spitting out all the, hey, did you know this animal can just like, yeah, I knew that. I'm not a 6-year-old, but, you have to play along. And you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Sometimes I'm like, I did not know that.
I went to zoo camp. I already knew that. But then they come to tell me all kinds of stuff that I don't know about, and it's cool. This thing it's got
I also
star all over.
I also think it would make sense as well too, because what I've noticed, like probably over the last 6-7 years, is what the shows PBS has introduced, PBS Kids specifically, is a lot more inclusive.
Yes,
I think, and I think in the past, I mean, you had other shows, but now it does seem there's a focus.
They were trying, but they didn't know as much about how to do that,
and,
right?
And now, it feels like more community stories are being told on PBS now than it was in the past.
The vast majority of stuff that my kids watch, is wide ranging.
Yeah.
What's the one with the little Dominican girl who lives in New York?
Not Dora.
No, not Dora.
That's on bloody Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Almo's Way.
Get out of here, Bryan.
Almo's Way is a great show.
Oh, yeah. This man is out here talking about Paramount. We talking about PBS.
For profit over there.
Christ.
Bryan, disrespectful.
Dora.
Yeah.
No offense to Dora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan doesn't have kids. That's good.
That's true.
Okay, so Ashley, how can people get the book? Because of course they're going to want to get it. What's the best way to get the book that sends the most money to you?
Well, I actually have no idea how I make money on this book. I'll be really, really honest with you. What I will say though is that it's available in all of your local bookstores. So, Mahogany Books has it, Sankofa Books has it. If you want to buy it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, it's there too. Barnes & Noble, it's there too. But if you would like to buy it online and you don't want to shop at one of the big ones, it's also available on bookshop.org, which I love.
Yes.
It partners with other local bookstores.
Yes. Bookshop.org. It's like Bandcamp, but for books.
It is exactly like that.
Yes.
It's exactly like that. Actually, one question, because I forgot to ask this here, and I think it was just more around the business structure, right, of books. And I think anybody who's kind of just in a creative field, sometimes we're always like, we just don't want to talk about the business piece. But I am interested, around what those avenues look like to obviously get it published, local bookstores versus, Bezos and what they have going on at Amazon, cloud fiefdom. But yeah, I'm interested in the business side of it on there. And I don't know if you have someone who just kind of handles that and allows you to kind of just be, all right, I was thinking
she has an agent.
I have an agent. Yeah. I could not do any of that part of it. I did read the contract because my dad would have been very upset with me if I signed something without reading it. But I will say I had to sit with my agent to say, what do you mean by that? What is this percent structure? I don't understand how any of it really works. I just know that a check comes and I'm happy with the check. So
good. I like, you know what? I like checks. When people get checks.
How many books had you written before this got published?
No, this was my first book. Yeah, I wrote it during the pandemic. I had all this extra time on my hands because, schools were closed. I didn't know what to do. I wrote the book. I was really excited about it. And then thankfully found an agent who did everything else.
Wow.
That's it.
That's incredible.
How do we end up with these kind of people on this show?
Because you do work.
No, but it's like, everybody we talk to is way smarter and cooler than us.
Yeah.
And this is cool.
That's incredible.
Can we have you back on the show when you write when your next book comes out? Because we want to get like a early edition.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about because my publisher would be really mad at me.
No. Don't give anything.
But when you actually get to read it, I need to talk to you two specifically because no spoilers, but this dynamic shows up in the next book.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Look, maybe, oh God, then maybe okay. I'm excited.
So
that's called a tease, y'all.
If you win a Newbery, that's because the Chip Chat ball.
Oh God, he swears that you go on the show. I mean, look, again, J. Scott Smith did win. He did win an Emmy.
Bryan, are you ready? Do you have the clip ready? No, we'll play that later. Yeah. Okay, so Ashley, how can people follow you so that they can find out when this next book is going to drop?
Yeah, I think the best thing is to just go to my website. It's ashleyman.com or follow me on Instagram. It's the @_Ashley.Iman.
There you go. And we'll post links when we send the clips out next week, and we'll tag you in everything. So sorry in advance or hooray in advance.
I'm excited.
Do we have a date when the next book is coming out?
Ooh, no, I do not have an official release date, but
okay. Well, we'll keep in touch and we'll try to follow up on that. Okay, we know it's a school night, so we don't want to keep you too much longer. One more time where everybody can get the book or where you recommend that they get the book?
I recommend you go to your local bookstore or shop at bookshop.org. That's my recommendation.
There you go. You heard it straight from the genius author herself.
Yes.
Okay, Ashley, we're going to take a break. We're going to go reread the book just to make sure we have enough to say for the next segment.
Right.
Don't worry. It's really challenging around here to find enough to talk about. It's a news show after all.
It is a news show.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
Thank you, Ashley.
When your next book comes out, we really appreciate you coming on the show. You're a fantastic guest.
Great guest.
And we can't wait to have you back. All right, you're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
pretty lights. Yeah, it's what we like. It's alright. You know that other life is there if you trust me. Pretty starlight.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's Bobby up?
We just got off the line with, I would say, our now favorite
So awesome.
kids book author,
Yes.
Ashley Iman. Go get her book.
Get her
It's
book.
called Ruby Renee Had So Much to Say, and it is just great. I can't recommend it enough. It's about every kid I've ever met. It's really spot on. So yeah, go get the book.
There's
You
that
can,
piece in the.
you can put your nerd book up now if you want.
Where's my nerd book? Oh, God.
Well, this is a nerd book, I guess. It's about somebody who's a nerdy kid.
Started this book, like I was saying.
But it's a very good book. Also, very well illustrated.
Very
I
well
would
illustrated.
say.
I haven't even started this book, but it's because that's what I was telling y'all. I haven't been reading the last few days. But yeah, it's a
What's
sad
this?
book.
Happy at any cost.
Happy at any cost. This is about the Zappos CEO, who I believe actually killed himself.
Oh,
So yeah,
is that what happened?
Yeah. So
Didn't they move to Vegas or something?
it's I think it's a sad story about Silicon Valley and him as I remember, I feel like it was because I remember listening to the description on NPR, and they were describing how he I think was trying to almost create like a different culture, and almost like that ended up doing him in in Silicon Valley. So it just kind of
The plot thickens.
I know. So, but once I start reading it, I'll tell folks more about it.
Okay. Good job.
That's what's there. Moving on.
Now it's time for a special international version of the rundown. The rundown is the part of the show where I tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news. If we were professionals, it would sound a little something like this.
From Beltway Radio and Beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm J. Scott Smith, and this is the part of the hour where I tell you some stuff that's going on in the news.
Thanks, Jay. He was our guest last week.
Yes, he was.
There's an updated version of that we're still editing.
The problem is I'm gonna miss the old version. The OG version is gonna be the one. The new version is
We
really
can
good.
still use both.
That's true. Yeah,
There's not like a
that's
limit.
binary choice here. No,
Yeah.
exactly. You're right.
For those who know the old school version is this.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn!
That's how we sound professional.
Exactly.
Okay. This one's called ... because that's how telegrams work.
It is.
Yeah, that thing that we use for breaking news, that's a telegram. Okay. French prosecutors. Did you know they had prosecutors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just a terrible person.
French prosecutors indicted the chief executive of popular messaging service Telegram on Wednesday on charges of complicity in the distribution of child sex abuse images, aiding organized crime, and refusing lawful orders to give information to law enforcement. Prosecutors charged Pavel Durov with multiple offenses after 4 days of questioning following his arrest at an airport near Paris, offering him or ordering him to put up a 5 million euro, which is $5.6 million in real money, bond, barring him from leaving France. He's stuck there.
Yeah.
He founded Telegram, back in 2013 or something like that, 2016 maybe, I don't know, a while ago. And he's Russian, or he was born in Russia, and then he escaped, right? And he lives in Dubai. And he holds dual citizenship, Emirati and French citizenship. And, he flies around the world being a billionaire because he has this messaging service that I think employs something like 30 people. It's almost nothing. And that they do no moderation at all.
Correct. And it's completely encrypted. So then there's no
So who uses this?
a lot. I mean, like some of the
It's
people.
obvious who would be using this,
Yeah,
right?
I would say that there are people who are not doing illicit things. I assume that use it as well too. I think more journalists end up using Signal.
Yeah.
But still the idea of the company in the sense not having insight into the back and forth of your messages is a popular thing, which is what end-to-end encryption is, right? It's just that there's no
It's not just that it's shielded from people outside, it's
Yeah.
also shielded from the company itself.
correct, exactly. So I mean, I am a huge fan of end-to-end encryption, but I think the key piece here is that countries have laws, and when they ask you for certain information, right, and that doesn't happen by like a judge, it's usually a warrant.
There's
that's
a warrant,
that's
yeah.
involved with this. It's just not random. I do think there is some level of like accountability that you have to kind of respond to these things. And look, I mean, like the things that he alleged to happen on that app do happen there, right?
Yeah.
And that just is what it is, right?
So I think that the counter argument to that, not that I support this,
Right.
is that end-to-end encryption and this level of refusing to get involved by the company also protects legitimate things in, say, repressive regimes.
Right.
So you could imagine China or the Taliban or Russia or somebody, up to oppressing people, which they love to do, and the people using Telegram as a way to organize, communicate, or do whatever. And then Putin calls him up and he's like, hey, give me the names of all these people. And Durov goes, no. And then he's laudable for that, right? Because of course he stood up to a tyrant.
Yeah.
But here it is, the French government saying like, hey, give us the names of all these, traffickers or whatever. And he's like, no. And to an absolutist like Durov, that's the same thing. I think it's reprehensible because obviously there's a huge difference here.
Yeah.
But the same technology, we talk about this on the show a lot, is that the same tool can be used for lots of different things. And in this case, the same tool that protects dissidents in Iran also protects child pornographers.
Yeah. And I think the quote here that comes from, I believe this comes out from Telegram, is to quote, "It is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner are responsible for abuse of that platform."
Right.
And I think that's what we're going to kind of run up against no matter what. And these companies are going to continue to say, well, it's the users.
Well, it's like the gun manufacturer.
Yeah.
You can't sue us, right? We just make the tool. It's the crazy people who use it to kill everybody. Ask Remington how that worked out.
Yeah. And
if you can find anybody who works there, they're bankrupt.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to say it's difficult, but I do think like there has to be some middle ground on this in a sense. And again, as I read the story, he was asked, they were asking for this information, and I don't think they got it. They were uncooperative.
Right.
And I assume also how they get to that is messages or anybody that they've got or like arrested, they end up getting into their Telegram and seeing those things that have been happening
They've got the stuff on the other end. They just want to see if he's going to lie about it, essentially. But, this is a whack-a-mole situation.
It is.
Because for everything that you have, let's say they nab this guy, they nab Telegram, and they knock it offline because of all the illicit stuff that's going on there. It'll take seconds, or if it hasn't already, something will pop up to replace it. And it's all just about having somebody who's willing to literally traffic in trafficking.
Yeah.
Be willing to do that, and maybe also other things too. I mean, there could be people on Telegram arguing about college football who don't want other people seeing their arguments about college football. It's totally possible.
Totally possible.
We know that there are Telegram channels that have been instrumental in political movements and upheaval in places where there are repressive regimes and stuff. So there's that side of it, and if they squash this one, another one's going to just pop up. I mean, what are we really doing here? I'm not saying you should accept it. I applaud the authorities for tracking this down and going after it as far as they can. But I'm just letting everybody know there is not an end to this.
And also, like, you have Elon who comes into a lot of these conversations where
Of course he
they
does.
wave the flag of like censorship and the challenges towards free speech. But like when we talk about free speech, one that I understand it again uniquely American, like, and the concept around that is also
The way we understand
Then-
it is pretty unique.
it's you there. And in this case, it's the government, like, but it's the French. I don't know what the French government or the French concept. I'm not really a scholar on that at all, so I
No.
don't know. But like, yes, the government has now come in and again arrested an owner, and like again, these things will play out in court. But the piece that jumps out here for me is it says the child safety advocates say Telegram permits more illegal activity, including abuse images, than any other major network. So, like,
That's his major network, though. I mean, if you think about the other examples of where we've seen, first there was 4chan, and 4chan
Right.
got big enough to where they're like, hey, we got to watch it with the content. And then people were like, hey, you're censoring us from being awful. We're making our own newer one, 8chan. And then they just keep making a less pop. And as these things get popular enough, they come under scrutiny. They make some adjustments and try to, rein this in. Reddit obviously is a good example of
Yeah.
that. And then what happens? Then people just the lowest of the low are always going to just find the next thing to go to.
yeah, and I just we're not. I don't know even when we ever get there, but there just needs to be a fundamental change, I think, of how we approach the internet and how we approach data on the internet in general. And we're very far from that. And again, like some of this stuff is really like baked in. I mean, and this is, I mean, what they got? They got 950 million total users. That's a lot of users.
But think about, like, we got to be careful what we ask for,
Yeah,
right? Because if we want tools that can police the internet for, say, child porn, which is definitely a thing we want to police,
yes, yeah.
we need to stop that from existing in any way that we can manage it, right? Those same tools can be tuned to go after people who are advocating for democracy. We have to be very careful about how we do this.
Yeah, and I think like my good friends at the Center for Democracy and Technology, they also speak a lot about this as well, because yeah, it's almost, and at some point you do have to protect the platform itself for those reasons, right? And what you have to kind of do is look at other ways to address the root issue, specifically around like CSAM and like again these exploitive images that are out there. But yeah, like I don't know. I'm always really. These things are difficult.
Yeah, we need people who are smarter than us to figure these out for us, because Lord help me, I'm nowhere near. Speaking of things I'm nowhere near, Ukraine.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, here, these are some breaking news. I borrowed this one off of Politico. Did you know there's a politico.eu?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's European politics.
Which of all, well, you know what that can lead us to.
What?
European politics.
Wait, why do you speak English again?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
Do it in Navajo. All right. Here's the headline here. Ukraine has tested its first ballistic missile. The result was, quote, positive, said President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday. The development comes 3 days after Ukraine announced its successful launch of its first missile drones, which is cool. What other developments are there in Ukraine? I thought it's a little too early to talk about that, but there was a positive test of the first Ukrainian ballistic missile. I congratulate our military production complex on this, Zelensky said at a presser. People probably are used to this binary world where there's either like American weapons or Soviet weapons, and those are like the only choices. And
Chinese weapons.
Yeah, they forget, right? And well, no, I mean, most of America thinks that China is using Russian weapons, which is true 35 years ago.
And they might be moving this. I know you probably saw that story about what the fear the Biden administration has where China is at with their weaponry.
Right. And don't think that we're not also
Of
on
course,
that.
but-
But one of the things that people who study these kinds of things and pay attention to rapid development during a war, if you think about, just look at World War II and look at the what kind of aircraft we had and everybody had to start the war, right? In 1939, it's a bunch of fixed landing gear, still some biplanes out there, held together with wire and fabric aircraft. And by the end of the war in 1945, there's jet fighters. War accelerates technological development.
Always does.
In a way that almost nothing else does. And the Ukrainians being pressed because they're being pressed by the Russians in the actual war, and they're not getting the
Pressed
support
by
that
the
they
United
need
States as well, too.
from the West, have done what good countries have always done, is develop their own shit. And they have
a country of smart people, too.
They are a country of smart people. They're a country of well-educated people.
Yeah.
And a country that has a cultural affinity towards valuing that kind of innovation and engineering and stuff. So they are in good position for this, and it seems like it's working. Now, to be clear, they can't make a lot of these very fast yet, but I wouldn't bet that they won't eventually be able to. And if the Western powers are smart, they'll give them enough ballistic ATACMS and other things to bridge the gap until the Ukrainians can stand this up on their own, so that they don't need our weapons and we can kind of extricate ourselves from that part of it. Speaking of which, they've got F-16s.
Yeah.
Now, we knew that those were coming, and great graphic, Bryan.
Great graphic.
Yeah.
Good God.
The F-16 Fighting Falcon, also known as the Viper to American Air Force pilots, has been around since the 70s or the late 70s. It's one of the dominant air superiority fighters of Western countries, NATO alliance countries, and Japan and South Korea, although the South Koreans have made their own variant now. The Ukrainians got some. We knew they were coming. They were coming from the Netherlands and maybe the Danes or somebody else was giving them some. They won't say how many they've got. We knew that there was a bit of a run-up, that they would have to get trained. They'd have to, build the infrastructure to support them and the pilots and the weapons and things like that. They're up in the air, and they're shooting down Russian drones like crazy.
Yeah.
And don't think that this doesn't make a huge difference, because they went from using old MiG-29s that they had salvaged from their Soviet days, which, remember, the Soviet Union broke up in 1991.
Yeah.
So they haven't really had any new equipment since then, to modern, and I'm not talking about 80s version F-16s. They've got modern F-16s with all the fancy radar and new shit that we don't even know about, and they are out there doing some damage. Godspeed. Give them more.
Go blue.
There you go.
From Beltway Radio and beyond.
There is nothing that changes a war more than air superiority. And for the longest time, the Russians have had it in this war, but I believe that is going to change.
Yeah.
The Russians can't fuel their planes, by the way. The Ukrainians can.
I don't know what there's more updates.
For the love of God, can we give them the A-10s, though? Because we're always trying to retire this plane. We've been trying to retire this plane for 30 years. We haven't, because nothing does its job as well as it does. But if we gave them a few of them, I'm talking about like 20, it would change everything, because anything on the ground is dead meat when an A-10 comes to town. And if you haven't ever seen that Gatling gun going off, the brat, oof, it's an amazing sound. A lot of fun to watch them fly too. We got to fly over while I was at the beach. They were flying out of the there's a air base in Jersey that flies out over the Delaware coast there, and flights of A-10s all the time. It was great. They're really cool looking, and not fast, so you get a little, a lot of look at them. Heavy artillery, baby. All right. Speaking of which, they have the Ukrainians have captured nearly 600 Russian soldiers, like in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
In Kursk. They zipped across the line.
They did.
The Russians were not expecting that at all.
No, not at all.
And they're like, "Caught ya!" And then the Russians are like, "Oh,
hands up, don't shoot."
Yeah, right. Oh, it works over there.
Yeah, kind of
funny. And they were like, "All right, all y'all get in the trucks," and they literally threw them in the back of Chevy pickup trucks and drove them back to Ukraine. And if you remember in the early part of the war, whenever the Ukrainians would capture the Russians, they would like film them and let them call their parents.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, but they need a lot more cameras because they captured hundreds of them at once. You can say that 30,000 servicemen have been sent to the Kursk front line, and that's growing. That's the Russians trying to reinforce this line. That's a lot of people, but the Ukis have several of them, and that's a huge propaganda win. Huge.
Yeah, I mean, also 2 bargaining chips to get back people who the Russians have as well too.
If the Russians cared about their own people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
There's
don't
been a
think
couple swaps though.
Yeah.
They've
They've
been
done
a decent amount
a
of
lot.
swaps.
Yeah.
I do wonder if through all those updates though, like where the fuck does this end? Because like, and I get the American posture on this as well too, because you just can't push Putin too far. But I also get the Ukrainians like, yo, we're not give a fuck about pushing them too far.
Yeah, they're not going to
They
give
don't
up.
care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. Like,
And you wouldn't either.
yeah, exactly. And the president doesn't. He's like, all right, well, the fear of using a nuclear weapon. What else work? Like, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
If the Canadians snatched a piece of Minnesota, just a piece,
God, be
You
hellfire,
think-
hellfire and
do you
brimstone.
think we would wait around and be like, oh, well, let's fight them carefully and slowly? No.
No.
And you wouldn't, nobody would stand. I don't understand. This is a weird thing that Americans do where we're all like, well, they got to follow the rules and shit. We would never
That's
follow
because
rules.
that's being American though.
Yeah, but
It's
we don't
not the
follow any
same.
rules. You wouldn't follow any
No,
rules.
It's not the same.
If your neighbor came and took some of your
You're
shit,
not America. That's the thing that Americans are like. You're not us. Which is a very crazy thing to.
we go into whole other countries and knock over their governments,
yeah.
and set up whole other things
Yeah.
and act like that's totally legitimate. And then when other countries get their territory invaded, we tell them, well, you got to play fair.
Yeah. I mean, because again,
The Japanese bombed a few of our ships
and
in Hawaii and we nuked them.
yeah, it's
Like it's
not.
not even negotiable.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we're going to develop this weapon specifically to teach you a lesson to never do that shit again. And we're going to beat you so bad that you have to write into your constitution that you're not allowed to have a military.
Yeah. No.
And we're going to write it for you. Yeah. Oh, you got to fight fair. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay. You want to take a break or you want to go right to talking about the Trump trials?
Let's go to Trump trials.
All right, let's go to the Trump trials. This one is called Fire the Cannon. As you all know, Judge Eileen Cannon, that Trump appointed there
Judge.
in
Judge is
Florida.
doing a lot.
Yeah, right. That's a heavy word.
Judge.
She is technically.
Yeah.
She threw out the classified documents case because she ruled that president.
She threw it out because she didn't know what she was doing. That's really what
She ruled that the president's bathroom is a secure location and it's fine and nobody should worry about it. No,
former president's.
yeah, she basically made up this thing where special counsels are unconstitutional and claimed that there were parts of the Constitution that were unconstitutional and said that the case therefore couldn't go forward. And everybody knew what was going to happen because special counsel Jack Smith had filed his notice to appeal.
Right.
But we were up against this Justice Department 60-day window thing where they basically say they're not going to file any cases or do anything within 60 days of an election that could be seen as impacting the election, even if it's a legitimate thing, like this guy absconded with a bunch of classified documents and showed them to all his friends. Even if it's that open and shut, they're like, hey, we're not going to touch it. So Jack Smith sent a 60-page filing to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit to say, hey, we'd like to appeal this quote-unquote judge throwing out this case. And I would like to point out, as we have several times on the show, that so far, in every instance where he has appealed anything that Cannon has ruled, he's won. The 11th Circuit is like, yo, this lady is woefully unqualified.
Yeah.
So the 60-page filing makes clear a lot of things. Smith insisted that Canada's dismissal of Trump's indictments trampled on decades of legal precedent and Justice Department practice regarding the appointment of special counsel. She's already been reversed by this court, as we've mentioned several other times. Her ruling that Smith was unlawfully appointed in what was considered by many lawyers to be the strongest criminal case against Trump, it doesn't make any sense. For decades, Smith argued in Monday's filing, attorneys general have appointed special counsels, and court after court has upheld those appointments as valid, including, of course, famously in Watergate.
Yeah.
So I don't know why she thinks this is going to work, but yeah, she's going to get overruled. Steve Chung had something great to say about it. As we move forward in uniting our nation, not only should the dismissed of the lawless indictment in Florida be affirmed, but be immediately joined by dismissal of all the witch hunts, he said while trying to unite the country. Let us come together and end all weaponization of our justice system and make America great again.
The person who tried to prosecute Hillary Clinton.
This guy's amazing. Well, that wasn't Trump who said it. It was Steve Chung who said it.
That's true.
It's his spokesperson.
For Trump.
Tech,
what are we doing?
It's hilarious.
It's insane.
Okay. This one, now, if you thought that 60-page filing, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of lawyering. What's the word? Lawyering that went into that. There was more lawyering.
A lot of billable hours for that one.
A lot of billable hours. Yep. This one's called A Whole Nother Grand Jury. So, as you know, the Supreme Court, comprised of neighbor Clarence, Sam and Alito, Beer Can Brett, and all the rest, decided to grant a new constitutional power.
Yeah.
Out of thin air, as far as we can tell, the legal scholars that we are, to Trump called immunity. And nobody knows what this means because it's made up. But Jack Smith was like, all right, I got you, motherfuckers. So he goes, we're going to ditch the entire January 6th case, which is here in D.C. against Trump. We're going to refile it as, with making clear that these are non-official acts.
Right.
Nothing here can be construed as an official act.
Which, trying to, flip the whole DOJ was an official act, which is crazy. That I get the Supreme Court has really butchered this one. They
really seem to have.
That's a crazy.
I can't. We've talked about that enough on the show. I don't understand what they think they did, but that's what they did. So he took a 45-page indictment and he cut it down to 36 pages. Huh. Basically, removed the word official from everything. But what's really, I think, important that people aren't really understanding about this, it's not like he just went and edited the charges and sent them back. He had to then go convince a whole nother grand jury.
Yeah.
Of different people who had never heard any of this evidence that there's chargeable offenses here. And they agreed, which is a pretty strong example of an indictment. People might not really understand this. There are some crimes where the prosecutor's just charging because, the way that the statute works, it is what it is. The crime, they've got evidence, they've got sufficient evidence to go present charges. The judge agrees, you've got charges, you can go ahead and proceed. But there's other cases where in order to get even to bring the charges, you have to convince a jury.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of jury.
Yeah, it's still a jury.
But it's still a jury. And here Jack Smith convinced a whole nother set of people that there's chargeable offenses here and that he's likely to win them because that's what they got to vote on.
Yep.
And he got him. He got him. So great job editing, I guess. Even a whittled down indictment could end the subject of protracted legal fights between Smith and Trump's attorneys. Are they attorneys? I don't know. The people he's hired. About what's allowed to be charged. So this is going to go back to Tanya Chutkan, who's been the judge who's been overseeing this in the DC circuit. And, she hasn't ruled in favor for Trump once. It seems unlikely that she's gonna, because A, he doesn't have very good lawyers, and B, Jack Smith's got him dead to right. He did the thing. We all saw him do it. It's not like maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe he didn't tell them to hang Mike Pence. We all heard him.
It's like call and response.
Yeah.
Like
it was like a bad church sermon.
It's really bad.
We want violence. Yes, we want violence.
Hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. It's crazy.
I mean, it's like, come on, guy. What are you doing here? So there you go. That's the updates.
But yeah, like they're in the story here that it has is like Trump is no longer accused of trying to force his Justice Department to conduct sham election fraud investigations and to urge state legislators to meet and choose fraudulent electors over legitimate ones. Because again, the Supreme Court has ruled that interactions between the president and his Justice Department would be considered an official president.
And not only did they rule that they ruled you can't even ask about that stuff.
Right.
Which the
president is above the law.
That's what they ruled. Yes.
It is that.
Yes.
They should have just put
Joe Biden, you're still president. Just saying. Any official act.
Like student loans, right?
Like student loans.
Official.
Apparently, the Supreme Court is like, no, you can't do that. That's not an official act. They kicked that back to the
exactly. How is it not?
Bulldoze them. Dare them to stop you.
Yeah.
You and what army? We're giving
my army.
Yeah, it's Biden's the commander in chief. Give back the money. What?
Which again, if they were consistent, no one would care. They're not consistent. That's the problem.
It's amongst
many, but yeah.
If they were consistent.
Listen
to you. This is the funniest show we've ever had.
This is
Did you just ask the Republicans to be?
No, I'm asking the Supreme Court
to be consistent.
Yeah, because again, they're supposed to be impartial judges, as I understand all of this. Yet they seem to kneecap their own power, being the third branch. Which again, I thought they were more self-centered than that.
Well, you thought wrong, sir.
Thought like Andy.
Yeah.
God gracious.
Dummy. Not you, the Supreme Court.
No, me too for thinking it. Yeah.
It is making up shit now.
Yo. Then that's why I gotta listen to the lunatics say, well, pack the court. But which I'm like, all right, look, you're making it maybe not that, but maybe these term limits, maybe something. Like other courts, and that too is not anything. It's only the Supreme Court.
It's not controversial.
It's not controversial. Everyone else does it.
Apparently, this one thing. Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know.
And the courts get things wrong, especially
occasionally they have to fix it. Like Dred Scott.
It's the first one everybody goes to, right?
It's like the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Come on. Or that time they reversed Roe on themselves.
Yeah.
If they can do that, they can do it. I mean,
anything.
They're just making it up. Wouldn't it be wild though? Because think about it. There's a Supreme Court in Britain.
Yeah.
Right? There's a Supreme Court in Israel. Neither of those countries has a constitution.
Right.
So they're just making it up.
That's true.
So it's all made up.
There's all this shit is made up, actually, in a sense. But it's but then if it's made up, we used to follow the rules that we made up.
Well, unless, you get a chance to trip somebody at a giant. All right. Here's what we're going to do.
Anyways, you're going. Yeah.
We're going to take
moving on.
Break.
Yes.
We need a break.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about
how to piss off the military.
How to piss off the military and live to tell about it.
Yes. Maybe.
It's going to be interesting. All right. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
You can hear some voices there saying, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go? We are looking at President Trump. This does not look good. It looks like they are attempting to move him out, that he may have been
shot, heard around the world, shot all over the internet. Camera shot a picture that's forever living in our head. Just missed his head barely. Fist in the air screaming. Fight. It doesn't get more legendary. No, they can't beat him fairly. So they try to take him out the game. All because he's trying to make America great again. One day they hating him, the next they say they'll pray for him. We ain't buying it, Barack. You probably help pay for the hit. And Joe's just a puppet getting strings pulled by the deep state who want Trump in a bullseye. So they let the bullets fly, but they missed him though. What you expect when you leave a job to be done by a liberal? Cause man, Wish death upon Trump. One was dumb enough to try and ended up slum. Blood running down his face, but kept his fist up. Screaming fight for they take our rights away. As many men wish death upon Trump. One was dumb enough to try and ended up slum. Blood running down his face, but kept his fist up. Screaming fight for they take our rights away. Teflon Don, bulletproof like 50 Cent. While Sleepy Joe got our dollar worth 50 cents. They calling me political, but ask the people close to me. I'm just fighting for the people that can't afford groceries. That's why I MAGA rap and proudly wear a MAGA hat. And that's why they shot at Trump. And that's why I'm clapping back. And that's why the left is panicking. They know that it's a wrap. Cause the people tired of pandering. We voted for the facts. Cause the fact is when Trump was in the office we were good. And the fact is Democrats don't care about the hood. And the fact is when Trump was in the office we had peace. And that's why I got this gold Trump piece. Capiche? Cause many man wish death upon Trump. One was dumb enough to try and ended up slum. Blood running down his face, but kept his fist up. Screaming fight for they take our rights away. As many men wish death upon Trump. One was dumb enough to try and ended up slum. Blood running down his face, but kept his fist up. Screaming fight for they take our rights away.
Former President Trump says he is okay after getting hit by a bullet. It was just minutes into his speech in that Butler, Pennsylvania rally. That shooter has been killed.
The man got shot.
What? Yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
What? Why? What's that guy's name, Bryan?
Forgiato Blow.
He does. What? Why?
Sounds like some of them Maggianos.
Wait. Oh, we know who likes to go to Maggiano's.
Yeah, Mike Drinker.
No.
I'm just joking.
That's also where the Nazis had their rally.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yes,
Remember
that is
that?
true.
Yeah, that's where Spencer and his buddies were hanging out in Maggiano. Why does he talk like that?
I don't like. Why does he do anything? I mean, you know what?
Why is this thing happening?
I wonder if it's like, similar to the former president. I think folks see a lane where they can almost grift at and they exploit it. Like, that's obviously what he's doing. Like,
what's he gonna do later? Because this guy, he's
what do you mean he's gonna do later? He's gonna always do that. He's
like
on his
35
face.
or whatever, right? He's not gonna be this forever. What's he gonna do next?
He's trying to make sure he gets he keeps this up, and God forbid the election goes the wrong way, he'll have a place in the freaking cabinet. He'll be on the inauguration
Secretary of Education.
Yeah, he'll be the what's the name of the arts.
Yeah, right.
He'll be the one. Yeah,
NEA chairman.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, he's just stressful.
Okay, thanks for that break, Bryan.
Yeah. Break from nothing.
I got another one for you.
Okay,
awesome. Good. I got a cleanser, a good cleanser.
Oh God.
This one's called "How to Piss Off the Military and Maybe Live to Tell About It." In honor of that,
yeah, you have we have military beers.
We have Honor Brewing, right? They're out of Chantilly, Virginia, local outfit here.
Chantilly.
Yeah, right.
Those commercials.
The Dulles Expo.
At the Dulles Expo, users guns most of the time. And I think back on those commercials.
Guns and the computer show.
Computer show was the other one. Yeah, guns and tech.
Yeah. Well,
I like both those things.
Yeah, right. That's why you're on this show.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is Honor Brewing. They're veteran owned, right? They make good beer. I've worked next to them at the beer festival several times. A bunch of good folks. Really like their stuff. This is their one. It's called Classic, right? And it's straight ahead Pilsner.
It's very good.
Yeah, very good. The reason we're consuming that is because we need to talk about Trump's people getting in a fight with the staff at Arlington Cemetery, which sounds like an insane thing to say.
Sick.
Shout out to Quill Lawrence, reporter at NPR, who broke the story. He is covers veteran affairs and various other things. Here's what we know happened. Trump was invited by somebody who happened to be a family who had lost someone to a suicide bombing in Afghanistan, who also spoke at the RNC at the convention.
Yeah.
He was invited to accompany them for a wreath-laying ceremony to commemorate the anniversary of their loved one's death.
Yeah, from the attack that
happened
during the as we were exiting Afghanistan.
And the thing that happens a lot is politicians go to Arlington for these solemn occasions. And generally speaking, nobody really gets any photos of it because you're not allowed to.
Right.
It's illegal to take political photos in an army cemetery or in a national cemetery of any kind.
Right.
And for obvious reasons.
And there are professional photographers from
the military whose job it is to document these things.
Right.
So that if you do want documentation of it, you can get it, and it is what it is. Trump goes to the ceremony, and then they go to a section which is called Section 60, which is where the most recently buried folks are from Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is Arlington Cemetery has a rule that like the newest stuff is particularly off limits to like people doing things. The older things that are sort of more historical, there's less likely to be a politicization of people who died in this, I don't know, Mexican-American War or whatever. Those places are a little, I don't want to say lenient, but they're you can get away with more photos.
Yes.
Okay. So Trump goes with the family to this gravesite, and he brings with him his staff photographers and videographers. And the Arlington staff is like, they can't take any photos here. This is not permitted by law. If you take photos here, you're going to be breaking federal law.
Right. We just said a segment. Who cares about that?
And they were like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And the Arlington staff was like, no, you're not. And essentially what happened is Trump's people called the lady who was trying to enforce the rules a bunch of bad names and pushed her, shoved her, assaulted her, put their hands on her, and then went on and took the photos and video and then posted it to TikTok and a bunch of other places and included in it a bunch of images of not just the family that had invited him there, but also other family members and other people who had not given their consent.
Right.
This is pretty egregious. The veteran community is on fire.
Oh, yes.
Because this comes hot on the heels of Trump telling everybody that the Medal of Honor ain't shit, which is a weird position to take. I got to say, like,
very weird.
As a civilian, you know, I have some connection to the military, right? I have family members who've served, and I've worked for the military in various capacities. You know, Trump told everybody that the civilian medal, the Medal of Freedom, that the Presidential Medal of Freedom that can be given out for literally anything, is
Does
better.
Rush Limbaugh have that?
Rush Limbaugh does have that. And he's been sober now for a couple of years. Congratulations, Rush.
It's so bad. It's not good.
It's not good. Why is he sober, Tez?
He's dead.
Right. So one of the things that Trump did recently is he told everybody that the Presidential Medal of Freedom is better than the Medal of Honor because the people who win the Medal of Honor are usually heavily battle damaged or dead by the time they win this award. As if it's a thing that they set out to do, right? Like they go, oh yeah, you know what I really want? One of those Medals of Honor. I'm willing to suffer to get it, but that's what I really want is a Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor is given out to the people who have done the most for this country. The Presidential Medal of Freedom is given out by the president to literally anybody he wants.
Anybody, yeah.
And it's often given out to people who donate a lot to his campaign, which is exactly what happened. Somebody who is the wife of one of Trump's mega donors, Sheldon Adelson's wife, Sheldon died because he was 107 years old. Trump gave the medal to his much younger wife, who was only 60 years old or whatever, and was like, here you go. You've done more for us than those Medal of Honor guys. And no, No, not even close. And the entire military community reacted negatively to this
And,
for obvious reasons.
And I think as well too, he just keeps building a case, like whether it's his response to January 6th,
Well, and he called the dead soldiers, suckers, and losers. Why did they fight in this war? They had nothing to gain from it personally, he told them. He said to John Kelly.
And he argued.
Who was a Marine.
He was a Marine. And like, I don't know where, like, if you're a veteran, like, how do you go, like, where in your conscience do you go and like, I can vote for it? And he was also the commander in chief. And talking to people who are in the military, I mean, like, specifically as well too, like Black people who are in the military, they're not rocking. They weren't rocking with him when he was in office. But again, their allegiance to the country came before that, and right, he's the commander in chief, so it is what it is. Like, if they have to go and stand out and protect in front of, like, right, in front of demonstrators in DC or whatever, they went and did that. But now he's no longer that. How could you put that person back in charge of our military, who already, again, we just don't, our veterans, we don't necessarily support them the way you would think we should for what they do, and for the individuals who end up going to the military a lot of the times are right by, like, not by force, but circumstance in life. Really, more of our poor end up going into the military than anyone else at very young ages. And I don't know, it's just disrespectful.
People who make that commitment to serve our country
that
he calls suckers and losers, that he goes and makes political showcases out of their dead bodies.
That's
Is
what are we
disgusting.
Doing? It's disgusting.
That he tells people that he calls people who have sacrificed everything to protect our country and to protect their fellow service members.
Yeah.
In winning the Medal of Honor, that he calls those people not as good as somebody who gave him $1 million. Disrespect isn't even the word.
Right.
It's fucking disgusting. Yeah. Bryan, I don't know, Bryan, would you like to give everybody your credentials and why you feel this way?
All right. My father served as a United States Marine. My grandfather, his father, served for the United States Army and was in World War I. This is why I want him gone. and the sad part here is it's like the way Fox and its news presentation, they're going to make him as the victim. And I think that's the unfortunate thing. And if they did their due diligence properly, knowing what the hell happened there, and I feel that the fact that, look, he is not the victim. He's his people are the agitators. Yeah. He should have known better. That it's like, look, we can't do this. If you but you want to follow this narcissist dickhead to the point where it's like, look, we need to get this campaign, but it's just like, no, you have to understand the rules. And it's been evident what you said earlier about the trials. It has been evident. We've been talking about since January 6th of 2021. It has been going on for so long. It is like this guy claims that he has no morals whatsoever. It doesn't care about the rules because he's a spoiled brat. And until hopefully September 11th, that he, this trial gives him the decent sentencing that he deserves, I don't know what will stop him. I just don't. And it's kind of, it's just sad to here to keep thinking. It's like, if you can't give proper respect to military people who died for this country, and you keep claiming that they're, whatever name you can think of, and you don't want to properly honor them, even though someone invited you, which is kind of weird, to come to here and pay respects. But then honestly, he's like, you did that as a PR bit.
It was a political stunt.
No, it's not political. It's a PR bit, and that's what he does. Everything he does is public relations, and that's it. He shows up, smiles, does the 2 thumbs up. You saw the pictures that he did for this. It was weird. And it's like, dude, this guy this family brought you in here just to pay respects, and you did as a PR stunt.
I think the family.
brought him
I
there
think
to
the
pay
family
respect.
knows
they
too.
were part of the politics.
I think the family. Yeah, I
they
there
spoke at the RNC.
There's one solve for this, and it's to go for the great folks in Michigan and the great folks in Wisconsin,
Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina.
Yeah, like y'all have this in y'all control. We don't have to go back.
We don't.
You don't have
We're
to go
not
back.
going back.
We're not going back. And I just think like if we don't like the military is what makes this country what it is.
Yes.
It's that. I mean, from the inception.
From the surrender at Yorktown.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the United States military, we wouldn't be a country.
I mean, or when the country broke apart, wasn't for the United States military, wouldn't be a country.
Right.
Specifically the black people who fought in that, right? Because they're the ones who won the war.
Yes. I'd like to make a correction. My grandfather fought World War II, not one, because he was born in 1919. So
okay. Great correction there.
Yes.
He's a really old man. He fought for 2 wars.
2 wars.
What's really telling about this, though, is the response, right? Because this happened, and the Army got the report.
Yep.
They acknowledged that this happened. They said, we're not going to go any further because nobody wanted to press any charges. And, but there's nobody refuting, no reputable source refuting that this incident took place. Who is refuting it is J.D. Vance, who told everybody that Kamala made up the story and she can go to hell, but she wasn't even involved in any of this because he's an idiot couch fucker. And
stop it. Just stop it, idiot.
After NPR, which broke the story, they did the thing that reporting organizations do. They called the Trump campaign and said, hey, we've got this info. Do you have a comment? Quote, in a statement to NPR, Steve Chung,
he's back.
Trump campaign spokesman,
God, I don't want to be his job.
Strongly rejected this notion of physical altercation, adding, quote, we are prepared to release footage if such defamatory claims are made.
They shouldn't have the footage.
The fact that a private photographer was permitted on the premises and for whatever reason, an unnamed individual clearly suffering from a mental health episode decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony, unquote. That's the statement. The Trump campaign declined to make that footage immediately available.
Of course.
On Wednesday, though, they did release video on TikTok that included Trump's visit to Section 60. Late Tuesday night, President Trump posted a photo on social media of the Gold Star families who had invited him. In the post, the families thanked the president and said that they had invited the campaign to film in Section 60, but filming there would still have contravened federal law, quote, which prohibits political campaign or election-related activities within the cemeteries. And also, some of the people in that picture did not give their permission.
Right.
This isn't going to change the mind of a lot of voters.
Correct.
People who already think that Trump is a despicable scumbag see this and go, here's further evidence that he's a despicable scumbag. And people who love Donald Trump are going to look at this and go, this is a witch hunt and he didn't do anything wrong. And we all take pictures of ourselves grabbing our dicks in Arlington Cemetery. That's totally normal. What are you talking about? But we're talking about an election that is swung on a few thousand votes in critical states. And in some of those states, the people who might be voting might be connected to the military. And in some of those states, the people who might be connected to the military and might be voting might have lost somebody who is buried at Arlington or at some other cemetery, national cemetery. And they are thinking to themselves, what would it be like if Donald Trump came and stood over the grave of my father and gave that stupid smile and thumbs up to try to grift people into giving money to his fucking campaign while knowing that what he's doing is illegal? And those people are going to vote.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they're going to stay home and not vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Because a lot of military people would-be Trump supporters, white military people, I should say,
Yeah.
this is enough to make them go, you know what? That's a bridge too far.
I agree. I think he's playing a very treacherous game. And it's not like we've watched the show before. In 2016, we had not seen the show.
Right.
And I think people were like, all right, well, check
He
it out.
says he supports the troops.
Yeah.
But then we saw how he supported the troops, which is to say, not at all. We saw how he denigrated those people. We saw how he went to Normandy.
Yeah, he didn't want to go.
And didn't go. He didn't go. He was there. And he's like,
rain.
well, it's raining.
Always raining.
It was raining bullets while the soldiers and Marines were storming the beaches. They didn't
Getting mowed down.
Getting mowed down by a rain of bullets. And they didn't go, it's fucking raining, I'm not going. They went and they took that beach and they saved the world from the Nazis. And Trump couldn't be bothered to acknowledge that.
Was this a 4-time draft dodger too?
This week, he made fun of John McCain for not being able to raise his arms past his shoulders.
I don't think because again, here's the thing. You can't grow. His base can't continue to grow.
It's shrinking.
It's shrinking and it's just there. I do think you can look at Vice President Harris and she can there's room. There's room to absorb more people.
Speaking of which,
I'm good at this today.
These debates are coming.
Yeah. Transition.
So, Vice President Harris has an opportunity to grow the base, right?
Yeah.
Some of those people are people who were never going to vote for Trump,
right?
But might have stayed home because they weren't too enthused about Biden. Now they have maybe a reason to get off that couch.
People like joy too. That's one thing that this campaign is very good at is they're selling some like, hey, let's be happy. And you know what's contagious? Happiness.
And there was a story in the paper today about how the Harris campaign is moving in ways in the polls and in the data that is very similar to the way the Obama campaign was moving. And that those waves are back.
Yeah.
And so,
hope is making a comeback.
We should feel that hopey changey stuff because it does work.
It does.
But
you got to give someone something to grasp.
So to that end, right, Vice President Harris and Coach Walls are doing an interview with CNN maybe tomorrow, or is it tonight? It's happening tonight.
Yeah.
Again, they're counter-programming us.
I think it was pre-recorded and it probably aired at prime time at 9.
Of course they did.
Yeah, of course.
They're trying to get our time slot.
Christ.
I mean, you can just call us, right? We'll come on CNN. The debate is scheduled for 10 September.
Yep.
And I don't think Trump's going to show up. Now, I was wrong that I didn't think he was going to show up for the first one. He did show up for the first one, and he made mincemeat of Joey B.
without saying much.
By doing nothing.
Let him,
Well, he learned something from that. What he learned from that is having the mics cut off helps Trump.
Yeah.
Because his worst impulses can't be realized.
Yeah.
He wants to shout. He wants to interrupt. He wants to say things. He wants to, dare I say, have too much to say.
Yeah.
He's not. He would hate this book.
He'd hate this book.
But it's a black girl that talks. Those are all the words he hates.
Why he doesn't like Kamala Harris?
Yeah, right. I'm speaking. But that's the thing he doesn't want. He doesn't want to have, right? Because when Pence interrupted Harris and she was like, "Excuse me, I'm speaking," that was a killer moment for her. That cinched it. She won in that moment because Pence looked like a bully and Harris looked strong.
She even did it to Joe Biden, I think, in their 2020 debates.
Too.
Yeah.
You're an idiot if you try to talk over a prosecutor.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest, any lawyer really, but specifically a prosecutor.
Correct.
And so Trump now is saying, oh no, I agreed to a debate with Joe Biden with muted mics. And Harris's campaign is like, well, let's go ahead and turn on the mics. Like, we're not afraid. Let's go ahead and do it. And then Trump told everybody at an event here in Virginia, he was like, yeah, we should turn on the mics. I'd be fine with it, but my team won't let me. And then he goes on Truth Social and spends like 3 days saying that he really should be debating Biden and that the agreement was that he should be debating Biden. He's so stuck on this thing.
Terrible things they've done to Joe Biden.
He's so stuck on it.
They kicked him out.
It was
should have been him.
Yeah.
Should have been Joe.
Many
They've
people are saying
done many terrible things to this guy. Now he's like campaigning for Biden. It's so weird.
He's campaigning. Well, because that's who he wants to.
Exactly.
That's who he practiced.
Sorry, buddy.
So the debate's scheduled. The two sides are still in negotiations. We've got basically a week to get this figured out.
It's gonna get figured out.
You think they're gonna do it?
Yeah, I think because what else shifts the moment? What else could shift Kamala Harris's momentum right now? It could just be a bad performance at the debate. That's
right.
the only thing.
So Trump.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Trump's motivation to do this is that he's going to bet on Harris screwing up.
And that's like again, I think it's a bad bet.
I think it's a terrible bet.
It's a terrible
She
bet.
hasn't screwed up yet.
Yeah, and again, she just seems to be much more of a refined candidate. And the points that they're hitting on are like really like. It also depends heavily on what the moderators ask, because the moderators could change.
You mean little George Slopadopoulos, as Trump called him? That's what he called him.
That's not funny.
Like
that's not funny.
What are we doing here?
That's not good.
It's not good. And he spelled little with D's.
Oh God.
Yeah. You know.
And look, this debate definitely happens. Is like
switch out Lil George for Lil Uzi and let him be the moderator. Or any of the Lil Mumble rappers. Whatever. Let them be the moderators.
I mean, look.
Brad Summer.
Man. I don't know. This debate definitely does happen because it's a last ditch effort. This is it. This is all they have.
All she's got to do is go out there and look competent and let him run off.
Yeah. I mean,
her campaign's been trolling him. They made an account on Truth Social and posted a picture of Trump with a bunch of chickens clucking behind it.
They are. I think Kamala Harris is relishing in the to go and do this. And I think I'm fully confident that because she's obviously been prepping for this as well too. And I think avoiding the media, which again, I know our journalist folks would be upset about, but I think that's smart in a sense that, again, no one can define her yet at that point. And the debate will be that. And I think, as I assume that she will prep, I know she's done a lot of prep at Howard already, or a few prep sessions there, but I think she's going to just come out swinging because, again, what the Democrats are selling is something that everybody can get behind. Democrat, Republican, Independent. You can get behind, hey, joy, hope. Those are things that we watch win before.
And sound governance.
Yeah, sound governance.
She's not out here selling a bunch of crazy ideas. She's selling steady as she goes. GDP growth today got revised or whatever. They did the math, 3%. I mean, the economy is doing well.
It's in a really Goldilocks, Mike.
Yeah. Steady as she goes with a side of joy. Hard to vote against that.
It's very hard to vote against that.
You know what you could do?
What?
You could buy some fake stuff.
God, they're still doing this.
Okay. So Trump has been on a campaign swing, right? But he took time out of the campaign to go do something very important. What did he do over the weekend, Tez?
He got his upper deck on, but digital versions, trading cards.
That's a great reference. Give yourself a bell for that.
I used to spend my allowance on those.
He was the tops of yeah. He took time out of the campaign to film a commercial for his fake trading cards, which we got to point out, they now come with an extra gimmick. So Trump's been selling these NFTs for a while, which is to say nothing. He's been selling thin air to idiots where they can get the rights to an image of him as an astronaut or something, which of course everybody else can see too. But
you have the unique serial number that lives on the blockchain.
Okay, sure. I'm not sure how that's valuable, but all right. But now, if you buy 15 or more of these fake cards,
15 or more, this is playing Magic.
You get that's a super nerd reference. Give yourself a bell for that. I didn't even know that was how many cards are in Magic.
I don't know.
Is that how that works? Bryan, you know things about Magic?
No, I think it's
Magic
more.
the Gathering?
I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
Oh, he's a Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
That's fair.
Is that that's another card?
Yeah, anime card.
Okay. I was busy playing sports. Anyway. Fucking nerds. Anyway.
It's a sport.
Yeah, is it? If it doesn't involve a ball or a puck and you can't play defense, it's not a sport.
So golf, not a sport.
Nope. Game, not a sport.
No, it is a sport because the defense is played by the course.
No, you can't play defense. All
right.
right, focus.
So good.
Donald Trump announced on Tuesday that he's selling a new collection of digital trading cards and that supporters who buy 15 or more of the cards
Are dumb. Sorry.
will receive a physical card. Oh, it gets better. Oh, no, it gets better. Adorned with a piece of the suit he wore for the debate against Joe Biden in June.
Who's cutting the suit up?
It's not real. It's just a piece of blue fabric. It didn't come from his suit. It gets better. The digital cards cost $99 each, and supporters who purchase 15 or more at a cost of
15 or more.
$1,485 or more will receive the physical card. People are calling it the knockout suit, Trump said in a video, adding, I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it.
Yeah, this is insane. He would have been, if this, like, he would have been, what is the game on Dreamcast of boxing? Was it Ready to Rumble? What was the Dreamcast boxing game that had like Michael Jackson was in it and all these people? Like Donald Trump would obviously be a character in this damn thing. I need to look up what the name is on that.
I know there was a Def Jam fighting game.
There's a Def Jam fighting game. Hold on.
I like that one. He added, we'll cut up the knockout suit and you're going
Ready
to get
Rumble is what it was.
there
Ready
you
to
go.
Rumble was.
We'll cut up the knockout suit and you're going to get a piece of it and we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item. This is something to give your family, your kids, your grandchildren.
Like a Rolex.
If you give your grandchildren this card that you paid $1,500 for with a piece of fabric on it, don't expect them to put you in a decent home.
It could be useful in the climate refugee camps for creating fire.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Just saying, you know.
Supporters who buy, it gets better, 75 digital cards at a cost of $7,425 will get to attend a gala dinner with Trump at Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida. He said, you know, they call me the crypto president. Nobody calls him that.
No, that's the mayor of Miami.
I don't know. Right. I don't know if that's true or
Suarez,
not.
I think, yeah.
But a lot of people are saying that, so don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and collect your piece of American history. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the former president has released and sold digital trading cards in the past. What?
You know, it's almost like everybody's like, yo, we want a president. They always wanted a business-minded president because they say you could run the country, right? Like a business, which is obviously not the right way to run a country. But this man runs it as it's his business, not ours.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's a grift.
It's a grift.
At the highest.
But kind of pick your grift with him.
This is also not the first time that he sold parts of one of his suits. Last year, Trump began selling small cuts of the suit he wore when he was arrested and had his mugshot taken in an Atlanta jail. To receive a piece of that suit, supporters had to buy 47 digital trading cards, adding up to $4,653. What the fuck is going on? I hope so many of his supporters buy these things. I hope so many of them buy them that the amount of fabric that they send out exceeds what would be in a suit.
Right.
And then they all look at that and have to explain that no, it's fake, and he just was wearing a much bigger suit that day.
I think though this just speaks to like the one thing that he's able to capitalize on is creating this like community around like people feeling like they're part of something.
Yeah, but they're buying in. Look,
not the right something, but look, I mean, like, who am I to say that? But I don't think it's the right something.
Are you a sustaining member of various public radio stations?
Yeah, and just different,
right, and
other organizations.
Me too.
Yeah.
Do you want all the little tchotchkes that they offer you? No. I want not the tchotchkes. As a matter of fact, I always check the box for no tchotchke, please. Keep all the money because A, I don't have any room for any more tchotchkes.
The main thing that I really want for them is the mailing label stuff on.
Yeah, I like
those. Those have been the most useful thing.
Because I mail a lot of things.
Yeah, WETA sent me those, and just to put your name, it's already there. You don't have to write it.
Right.
Literally the most useful thing I get from.
I like them. I like
send those. I haven't gotten those in forever, but I'm still sending money.
Oh, I got plenty of them.
Yeah, it's kind of them.
Well, you gotta diversify. You gotta send money to a lot of different places. They send you more labels, and if you haven't for a little while, they'll send you some labels to ask you to make sure you have sent some money.
Oh, so I have to stop.
You have to stop for a little bit, get to more labels.
Oh, okay.
But in any case, yeah, I want not stuff. Who are these people? These are the same people who buy like the commemorative Dale Earnhardt plates or whatever.
Yeah. I thought the coins were bad. The quarters that they are selling.
Trump bucks.
Trump bucks. No,
it's like daddy bucks.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
My economy is for good.
I think he thinks his is too.
Yeah.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go steal Bryan's credit card and buy $7,000 worth of Trump cards.
He'll probably come on the show if you do that.
To get some suits and stuff. Oh yeah, 100%. And he'll bring Alex Jones with him.
The problem is he'd get on this show and it would be insane. We wouldn't be able to corral him.
I don't know about that.
No, it wouldn't. It would be a friggin'. We'd be joking and laughing with him. It'd be bad.
No, I think by then we'll have joined the NABJ and it'll be fine. So we're going to take a break while we go finish our membership and steal Bryan's credit card so we can buy a bunch of these Trump cards. You've been listening to Chip Chat for a little bit, and we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Won't you fight for your life? Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. I don't like the frogs. Gay. Friggin' frogs. Quack, 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 quack. Frogs. Friggin' frog crap. Won't you fight the frogs? It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Frogs. Place point. I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks. You're full of shit. Pumpkin possums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Oh, there's energy and oh, now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one. I know what you are now. Witches and warlocks. You're full of shit. Pumpkin possums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why every goddamn thing out of your people's mouths doesn't come true. You said it was all over. You told us the stuff. You. Oh, God. Witches and warlocks. You're full of shit. Pumpkin possums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why witches and warlocks, you're full of shit. Pumpkin possums, I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Because every god thing.
Your mouth is.
What is it? It's all lies.
All lies.
Pumpkins and possums. It's almost fall. We got to get ready for the
pumpkins and possums.
If you live in a white neighborhood, the pumpkins have already attacked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's in a spicy latte.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, the spice.
So
Nice.
as the let's say proud father of several white girls, they announced this year that they're like, "Whoa, we can't wait for fall. We love fall." And I was like, "Of course you do."
Candy corn? No.
No, not candy corn. They were like, "We can't wait to wear hoodies and have pumpkins." And I was like, I thought there was a chance to like educate them out of that, but it turns out it is genetic. I can't help it.
I mean, you know what? I'm not even really mad at folks for that because we also
I love fall too, but
we also
not
just
for
came
that.
out the hottest summer on record.
Yeah.
So that is not.
I love fall because it's the return of football and soccer and all of the sports and playoff baseball. It's like all of the things that I love happen in fall sports wise.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. Okay.
I should have made my TED talk just talking about the Nats and Dylan Cruz coming up.
Hey,
which was that? Oh my God! I missed the home
knocked
run
the
last
dinger.
night. I just missed it getting into the park because the lines. I guess everybody loves the Yankees. Crazy. But like literally playoff lines. When you came out of the Navy Yard station, the lines were damn near already like close, like halfway. But I guess the Silver Diner almost already.
You should have been
I
bunking
walked
up
all the
with
way.
Treyon. You could have just walked.
God. I walked all the way around to the other gate closer to the bridge, which is always open. There's not.
So your kid is almost as good as our kid. I mean, our kid's hitting dingers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of kids.
We had to send him back down and then back up.
But yeah, no, James Wood, Dylan Cruz. I mean, and again, and also too, obviously went to pay my respects to my beloved Juan Soto, who
former Nats great,
who
former Padres great.
Former Padres great. Also, too, I had never seen Judge in person.
He's huge.
He's
a monster of a man.
6'7", 280.
Yeah.
I've never, as a baseball player, I don't think there's ever been one.
He's a defensive end.
Like,
yeah.
It's literally jarring. I looked, I was like, oh, just picture
It's like standing next to a Rackpo or Kerrigan or something like that.
And the thing is, Giancarlo Stanton is also very large.
Yes.
But not as large.
Well, if Judge wasn't around, Stanton would look huge.
He would.
Yeah.
These people look like they're carved out of granite.
And they crush the ball.
But then it's also interesting to watch Jazz Chisholm or CJ Abrams or people who are of the smaller build.
Right.
Who know where to connect with the bat and like their swings are really good. And I don't know. Yeah, no, it was we won the series. The worst base running I'd ever seen. But that third base coach should be fired. Because he turned his back at one point.
Yeah, how do you do that?
It's very. I was screaming. I also made a very not lewd joke, but it was more like the people. I was like,
joke.
It was like, "Let's go Yankees." I was like, "Let's go to work in Manhattan tomorrow." Who's doing that?
Yeah.
The people in front of me that found it very funny. The Yankees fans in front of me, the black family, were like, "He's got a point."
Yeah,
this guy. We're all here, and we're not in the Bronx. And I'm like, "Yo." The hell, but beating them, I was very happy. The TED Talk actually is an Atlantic story that I was reading. And the title of it is Marijuana is Too Strong Now.
Oh.
Which I found it very interesting.
Is that a problem?
Yeah, yes, it is. Because
it's like the deflation thing. Like you can't get low enough strains to manage certain
Bryan,
things.
I hope his last name, I think it's Fink. And he wrote this article, and it's just like, as the path of marijuana legalization has happened, except for the federal government, folks have noticed that weed just like, it's not your grandfather's weed, man. It's not that cartel dirt that used to be coming in here. Like, the science is getting behind this, right? And like, you've watched it, like, I think 25 years earlier, I mentioned a story that THC levels were, between like 5 and 16%. And now they're
like
upwards
50 or 60 or
but not that high yet, because then people can be out of it. But like 20 to 30% for the most part. And some of the vaping options are even closer to 90. That's the concentrate is where you're at with that there. And it's like, as they mentioned in the article, average weed smokers really kind of, they don't want to be like dysfunctional. They don't want to smoke their joint and go about their day.
Yeah.
On there.
That's the whole appeal of weed as a drug, that you can, it's not a drug, but like the appeal of using it as a substance that you can use it and still operate.
Yeah, and obviously there's different, like from between indica or a sativa, like you'll get different effects from that. And I think they made a couple of points in here. Most like adult, like recreational weed smokers do remember what they would call mids in the pre-legalization era. And it used to be, unless you had someone who could get you like a purple haze or sour diesel. Hydro is another one. You didn't really a lot of the weed was literally dirt.
Yeah.
It literally was that.
It was the brick stuff coming in from Mexico.
Exactly, right? Or like Reggie, as in regular weed, as they quoted in this article, which is hilarious.
Reggie, because it was Bush.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how old.
That's that. Look at you.
We used to call it Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because the good stuff came in on Wednesdays.
Okay.
Yeah. And be like, what day is it?
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? All right. Let's go.
And I think, again, you found that there's a lot of folks who are actually pining for like a return.
Pining.
Yeah.
Just seeded that one out there. There's a stem of a joke in there somewhere.
There's a look. And some of this as well too is kind of because like smaller producers would be the ones that probably carve out this niche, because I think as the potency has grown, more experienced weed smokers are looking for that. I find it to be crazy. Like I indica as a consumption base for me just seems I don't like. I want.
Which is the one that makes you go
sativa?
Up.
Yeah,
and
indica is the sleepy one, which I guess as well too. There are reasons for this as well too. So depending on what you're trying to treat, any ailments, it might make more sense.
So
to go
why not just like abandon the smoking altogether and just get it like exact concentrations in gummies or whatever, so that you can use but not,
because people like to smoke. That's the thing. This country is that just this country is,
because it looks cool.
Yeah, and like it just is a thing. Like I would also say I find the gummies almost like, maybe you could get it down there if you get more science into it, but the gummies feel almost uncontrollable in a sense, depending on what you end up having. Where I think most people would say like the high from smoking is, and depending on what you smoke, that there's probably like a 2 hour to 4 hours, and you could kind of work with that. Once it goes into your blood via the food, I think it stays a lot longer as well too. But it goes back to the other piece as well too, is that the federal government kind of needs to get on with this and legalize it
and regulate it.
Because again, from however it's being cultivated, like you really don't know what's going into the weed that you're smoking, digesting.
You don't know what's in the soil. You
don't know any of that. And I think I think to the detriment of the users, the federal government needs to step in and regulate this, because they will be able to then bring in the scientists, be able to fund this.
I'm sure the USDA would be great at this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great at all the other agro stuff.
Yeah. And like, I do think like the story ends really about like descheduling it, one. Also two, like creating like a nutritional fact style around it. Like, and these things, like, they're not crazy. Like, again, we do this
just
for
consumer
other things.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's in the Atlantic. Go check out the article to read through it. But I just thought it was very interesting, because I do think the weed has become a little too strong. And I do think there's a segment of users who do want that, right?
Like the maintenance dose.
Yeah, because they want to feel something. I've never looked at weed in that way. It's like, I want to be able to go do something. That's really for me. I want
it to supplement your life, not knock you out of life.
Exactly.
Well,
right. So, yeah.
I mean, we all have things that are like that, you know? I mean, there's an ABV rating.
Exactly. Right.
Beer.
And like, sometimes I do want the hop slam of 10.
Right. And sometimes you want a 5.
Yeah, or this the simpler times. It might be a 4.5 from
4.5
from Trader Joe's. You know.
Yeah, right. Beer.
Yeah,
came in
or High Life. I might want the high.
Yeah,
I might want a High Life.
Yes,
because of what the High Life is.
It's a maintenance beer.
Exactly.
You can drink it while you watch baseball and still quote random stats.
Exactly. Versus you drink a friggin' Hop Slam or
the
Bell's Too Hard.
Completely.
And you're like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I think that's
makes
the
you
same
slur.
Yeah.
Yeah,
brings up
puts the slur in. All right, speaking of people slurring sports.
Oh God, I'll let you guys take this.
Figured out how the Saudis are going to buy the NFL.
I haven't read up on this enough yet, but I
fortunately it's right here in the script.
Yeah, I know, but like I saw this and I was like, ooh.
All right, so the NFL
ruin something else.
The NFL has decided that they're going to allow private equity into ownership, but in a limited way. All right, so they're going to do it in a way where they can't own a whole team, right? They can only own parts of it. There's a lot of rules around it, but it doesn't seem like there's enough rules around it. So other North American pro sports leagues handle private equity in a lot of different ways, but the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, Major League Soccer, National Women's Soccer League, they all allow franchises to sell as much as 30% of their ownership to private equity. In some cases, it's capped at like 20% for in the NBA, NHL, and MLS. It's 15%. The NWSL reportedly allows private equity firms to own as much as 100% of a team if it's not invested in other teams in the league. And that is probably a symptom of the fact that it's a smaller league with
the money.
They need the money. If it gets into the NFL, though, here's the problem, is that the private equity firms, while they can only own so much, and there's a bit of an accreditation process that's involved, and 24 of the 32 owners have the vote to allow the ownership, change to take place. Who funds the private equity fund is basically unregulated. And so if you're a sovereign wealth fund, you can't buy an NFL franchise.
You cannot.
But what you can do is invest in a private equity fund that can buy into an NFL franchise. And while the private equity fund can't be invested in too many teams because it would create a conflict, the sovereign wealth fund
can be in a variety of private equity.
And so this is a backdoor way for a giant pile of money like Saudi to come in and buy the entire league. And it's a creep, right? They're going to get a little bit.
I don't think you can stop this.
Yep. And then they're going to get a little more, and they're going to get a little more, and they're going to get a little more. It's also going to pump up the valuation of the teams in a way that continues this trend. Part of the reason that this is happening is because nobody can write a check anymore and buy a team. They're too valuable.
Yeah.
Right? When Danny bought the Washington football team, he paid $600 million for the team. When he sold the team, it was north of $6 billion. He added a whole zero. And it wasn't that he added value to the team. It's that the value of
the nature
an NFL
of,
franchise
it's just what
increased
happens.
by a whole
Sports
order of
franchise
magnitude.
in general. It doesn't matter.
And so
in the top 4 sports,
you get to this point where, like, because nobody can do that, now you have to have these funds that can do that. And when you have these funds and there's a way for people to pool money, which you can't really see where it's coming from, it just opens this Pandora's box. And you know where it's coming from. It's some of the money's going to come from places where, like, you expect it from rich guys who want to own football teams.
Right.
Cool. But some of this money is going to come from places
70% of that will come from it. Yeah.
Can't be traced.
Yeah.
And it's going to come from the Russians. It's going to come from the Saudis. These guys are desperate to get their money out of what it's stuck in.
Laundering.
Yeah. And they're going to sports wash it.
Also, too, I think it's a weird thing that oil kind of plays into this as well, too.
Right, because oil's dead.
Exactly, and they are very aware of that. Those folks are very...
The Gulf Arabs are very aware of that.
They're very aware of that, and they're figuring out a way to kind of go ahead and diversify this. It's a slippery slope, but, I mean, I don't think you stop this at all. Because, again, the owners want to be able to sell these teams for more. And the way to do that is,
to them, it's a valuation. It's
Yeah.
not a team. It's an investment.
Yeah.
Although I will say that I think Josh Harris stands a little alone, or maybe not alone, but a little different from the rest of it. I believe that he has bought the Washington football team primarily for the purpose of reviving the Washington football team. Whether he intends to
He's the right fan
sell it
for
later,
He's the right fan
maybe,
for it.
but he seems to be moving like the sort of a Bob Kraft kind of, owner where
But
like
doesn't Kraft have it? I mean, no,
Kraft's goal of the Pats is to make the Pats good.
Yeah.
And he wants to continue. I mean, he wants to have a winning team. He's not interested in making money off it. He would have sold them a while ago. But no,
I hope they buy the Nationals.
Well, here let's
I hope they pay
let's be sports fans here for a second.
Yeah.
I rather have a face. When it comes to ownership, there has to be a face.
Somebody to hate.
Not hate or beloved.
Or revere.
Or love or whatever.
That still be there. That's the 70%.
True, but when you have a faceless entity taking over a franchise, I mean, mind you, the Packers is a whole nother story on its own because they don't have an ownership.
They're separate.
Yeah, they're completely separate. But for something like this, I just feel like we know who person who purchased this. We just can't complain. We just say the Saudis, and that's it. Especially when you're in Premier League.
I was going to say, what do Gunners fans say when they're angry? Who do they yell at?
Yeah,
Kroenke.
Is he the owner?
Yeah. I mean, he is. That would be where they would put it.
But let's say,
what's the stadium you play at again?
The Emirates. But yeah, that's a different.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's just a sponsorship thing.
Yeah, but let's say, for instance, though, I would say Manchester City.
Yeah, Man City.
So when City fans are
Man
mad,
U.
who do they yell at? Well, Man U can yell at PSG, but like, or not PSG, FSG or whatever they're called. But like, who? Yeah, who do the City fans yell at when they're mad?
It's true. It is. It becomes a little more, I guess.
Who does Newcastle yell at when they're mad?
They go, God damn it! They be out there coming up with the Saudi garb on.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
But also too, because here's the thing with the sports fan, we say we don't care about this, but let me tell you this: if one of these funds bought the Nationals and started shelling out cash to buy. And pay.
Of course,
I'm
money
not
changes everything.
When you start winning, and Soto, all three of them.
But mind you, let's.
I wouldn't care.
Well, let's put this.
I wouldn't care.
Well, let's say this.
That's
for
the
like
problem.
the Orioles, when we got our new owner,
thank God,
and pushed in money and saying it's like, okay, we're gonna do what we're gonna do to help this franchise. That's all we needed.
That's what we wanted.
That's what we wanted. That's what we needed. But if we fully were aware of who was funding this money, then we would kind of second guess. Because then again, like when Daniel Snyder was getting
2020 view, I don't know if we.
Think about this. You can say that
the moralities and shit. I think.
When at the time, I really questioned Daniel Snyder when he was purchasing the skins. I really did, because there was a lot of iffies going into the negotiation process of him getting this franchise.
Yeah.
Because initially he had one group, and somehow certain members left. And then he had to form a new group.
Leveraged and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I just felt like, okay, at least I'm aware of the certain situations and the certain parties that are involved. If I, as a fan, not aware of what's going on, of who's owning this team, mind you, I'm not saying the fact of I just want somebody to yell at why my team is bad. It's the simple fact it's like how this process was handled to the point where it's like, okay, why is this guy in this group in the first place? And for whatever reason, knowing full well that he's connected to this, and this.
I can tell you a little bit about how this feels, right? Because right now, Everton doesn't have an owner. Right? On paper.
Don't have a win either.
Or a goal.
What's
going on? A single goal.
It takes a little time for y'all to start up. You guys will make it again.
I love your optimism.
I'm telling you, it'll be okay.
On paper, Moshiri still owns the team, but he doesn't own the team. He doesn't want to own the team. He wants nothing to do with the team, right? The Suter group that was going to take over, the 777 group that was going to, is a corrupt organization that's now facing several federal charges and was making money out of thin air to finance these fake loans that they loaned the team. In the meantime, the team has borrowed money from several other people who just want to see Everton still exist, but have no interest in ultimately purchasing the franchise. So it's like we're in this huge amount of debt, and there's nobody to hold to account. There's no accountability here. And that, as a fan, I'm not talking about the business of it. I'm talking from a fan perspective. It's fucking jarring, because at least for all the time that the Washington team was bad, I could be like, it's fucking Danny's problem. Danny is the problem. Danny's got to go. Sell the team. Danny's got to go. Now I'm looking, as an Everton fan, I'm looking around and it's like, well, Sean Dyche maybe needs to be fired, but I don't even know who would fire him.
I think the other question here as well too is what has, and this, people might think I'm tripping on this because how could this end up happening to any of these big leagues? But what has private equity not killed?
Yeah,
whether it's healthcare, whether
things.
it's your vet, whether it doesn't matter. Whatever their hands, home services, it doesn't matter when they get involved. Because then what do? Private equity comes in, and then they basically create another business that basically the team is actually probably or let's just take a healthcare provider for instance. They create a separate business that then owns the big things, the stadium, or in the case, the healthcare office.
Team rents the stadium from itself. Yes,
and that always I've never not seen it happen.
I haven't seen a single industry where private equity has helped.
I don't know. And again, what is it? 301-761-1040. Call me and let me know where this has worked. And I think private equity could kill the NFL. Of what we know it. I know that sounds crazy.
I should be worried about that. We should be worried about sovereign wealth.
Because I think doing that, all it is bringing in people or bringing in unknown people, infiltrating into this league, which, mind you, it's always been, the big boys club, so to speak, for years. And I rather see owners of certain skin color taking over than the same old old man's club. But it just seems like you're doing some shadow shit. And I just feel like as much as I would like to see certain teams stay, mind you, if this would have helped the Expos not come to Washington, I would think we'd be having this conversation. If this prevented the A's from leaving Oakland, being the last team in that city, major team in that city, going to Vegas, I would probably complain. But knowing full well it's like I don't know, it just seems like there's some shadow shit going on, and I rather know who I'm dealing with as a fan, where my money's going, and where this team is headed with an owner I'd rather not see all the time, but if he is, at least I know who I'm facing.
I think there's an accountability part of it too, right? If your name is on it, even if you're untouchably rich, people know your name, and it matters. People's name matters, and the chants in the stadium are legend. I mean, ask anybody in soccer, and those things hurt. And it changes opinions. I really,
if a Saudi prince or whatever appeared and said it's like, hey, I'm owning Man City today. Great. All right. At least I know who I'm dealing with, but if
the
not,
shitty fans, well, look, we don't know what it's like for a Saudi-owned team to fail yet.
Because again,
it's just money funneling in.
Well, what's going to happen when Newcastle gets enough money to really make a run at City, and you have the same piles of money, which, let's be honest, whether it's Emirates or Saudi or any of the other Gulf Arabs, it's all the same families. If they're making a run at each other in the Premier League, at some point something's got to give. Somebody's going to make a choice.
Well, now
competition.
No, it's not competition.
No, because keep this in mind. What I talked to you about last week on my show. So, and I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah, I barely remember that. I was on that show.
I know you were, having your, Commander's Bud Light. So there was a report going out where Man City is under financial investigations.
Yeah. They've got 150 violations.
Yes. So likelihood they may be regulated out. So for you, Tez, I I asked this to Chip on the show. So I'm asking you this. How do you feel about Man City? Based off of what we're talking about now, do you feel like this is deserving to be investigated on?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. There are rules, right? Like there are rules around it, and I guess again the rules are to protect the competition, right? Because once we lose and I think you see this also around sports betting, right? If the competition piece gets removed from that, these sports don't mean anything.
Right. If everybody thinks the fix is in, then
it doesn't mean anything. So yeah, you kind of have to do that. I mean, but it doesn't matter if you it doesn't change what they did. I mean, they paid players. The players went on the field. They performed at a high level. But
if they paid Phil Foden out of thin air with fake money that they never had, is it really their championship? Or I mean, it could be Foden's championship.
I mean, yeah, maybe you can't say that for the owners, but for the players,
it's theirs.
It's their championship.
They competed on the field, but I mean, does the team get to claim that?
Yeah, I do think they still get to claim that because the thing has already happened. Like that's when they take away the banners and whatnot in the NCAA. No, they won.
No, not according to the.
They won.
My shirt says that Michigan
not
won.
to Louisville.
Yeah,
Louisville won.
No,
they made one on video, but
they were vacated. Michigan won that
doesn't
game.
mean anything.
Michigan.
It doesn't mean anything.
Didn't lose that game
won.
anymore. We're national champions, 2013.
So I just think
it's true. That's how that works.
I really think that again, fans don't really care. I don't.
If the league came back and took that cup away from City and gave it to Gunners,
I would be like, we didn't know. We didn't win. We didn't have enough points. We didn't
No,
get
you
that.
wouldn't.
Yes, I would. No, we're not going to look at that. We're not going to look at that and be like, oh, that's a win. And again, what Man City has done, again, this is a team as well, too, that prior to the investment, the Arab investment.
Yeah, they were nothing.
Nothing.
I understand that.
Nothing.
Well, Leicester went from promotion to league champion in 1 year.
1 year.
So that tells you what money can do.
Money can do that, right? Because then you can buy the talent.
Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I say all this, but like again, if they wanted to purchase the Nationals and just started funneling money in, I wouldn't care.
Because you'd win.
Win, and that's
what happens if they stopped? Right.
Why would it stop?
Winning solves everything.
Why would the winning stop if they continue to invest money?
No, because other teams got another sack of money and made it equitable.
Again, also to the players.
Then you just have a race to inflation or whatever.
That's fair. I mean, the players also still have to go out in the field, and I think that still is what.
What if they're paying the players different? You know, what if private equity gets into shortstops?
I do
and they
think
slip CJ a stack, and they go, "Hey man, I think you're gonna make an error in the third inning," and he's like, "I think I am."
But then you ruin the league.
Yeah, then you got 1919 all over again.
But then no one will watch the league.
That's the threat here,
and that's why I say I think that's the bigger
thing
threat.
that the NFL has been trying to protect against for so long.
Yeah.
The more sources of money you get involved in a game,
DraftKings,
all of this stuff,
FanDuel,
the more opportunity for corruption you create.
They could again. My biggest worry is that these leagues could literally become
FIFA,
but almost that people don't watch these things because they don't believe in the sport. And people will I know that sounds crazy.
To people who watch a lot of international soccer. I'm not just talking about English or German
Didn't
soccer.
boxing kind of go through this in a sense, right? People think
it's all fixed.
Yeah, right.
It's still in that.
Yeah, and
people treat boxing like it's a WWF. Like they go, it's all fixed.
Yeah, and think about. I wasn't alive then. Bryan was. But again, think about what boxing was in this country
back in the 50s
as the premier sport,
right?
So I think these things it happens over time, but that's where I worry about is they could kill these sports off by greed. Greed could, and again, private equity, I've never seen it solve anything.
You want to talk about greed?
Yeah.
Pharma bro.
Hey, look at that.
Martin Shkreli.
Wow.
This guy, he's back in the news. Do you want to know why?
No, I don't know why. I didn't make it this far in the show.
So, he bought that Wu-Tang record.
Yes. That did get confiscated, right? Back?
Well, that's where we're at in the news cycle here. Okay, so Wu-Tang made a record that they made as an art piece, right? As a group, and they said, we're going to make this thing. We're only going to make, one copy of it or 2 copies of it. We're going to put it in this really fancy box, and nobody else is going to get it. We're not going to release it. We're going to sell it because we want it to be regarded in the same way as like a famous painting, of which there's only one. Right? Pretty good concept.
Yeah.
Everybody got down with it. They all thought it was cool. Well, the guy who bought it turns out to be an asshole. His name is Martin Shkreli, and he got all his money by jacking up the price of life-saving drugs from $15 to like $7,000 or whatever.
Insane.
So everybody hated him. Then it turned out that he committed a bunch of financial fraud and stuff. And so he was pinched and he had to go to jail. And part of the deal was that he had to pay back all of this ill-gotten gains. And he didn't have enough money to cover that. So part of that was that he had to sell the Wu-Tang record. And the government auctioned it off. And it was bought by a art collective called Pleaser DAO. Pleaser DAO. I don't know how to pronounce that. Who knows what they want to do with it. But they bought it. And then they also paid a big pile of money. I think it was like $750,000 for like the copyrights and the licensing of it. And they were all ready to do whatever they're going to do with it. And then Shkreli does his YouTube show and he tells everybody, yeah, I got a bunch of extra copies of it. I've sent it to everybody, all the girls that I've ever tried to impress. And he's like, yeah, I'll even play it live on my air right now. And he plays it on the thing. And so like the people who own the copyrights are like, yo, we paid all this money for this. This guy's obviously got copies of it. Give it back. And then Shkreli is like, yeah, I got copies of it. You think I would have bought this thing and not made a bunch of copies, for later? Like, this is all very obvious. This is what's happening. This can't happen with anything but music, right? You couldn't do this to like a live performance or like
a painting. Yeah, no way, not
so
possible.
And the Mighty Mighty Wu has been relatively quiet about this. They're like, look, we sold it, we did the thing, we proved the point about the art.
Got our money.
We're not involved in this. Do whatever. But yeah, so Pharma Bro, what do you think? Give us the record, you shithead.
I mean, yeah, at this point. I mean, but then does that go against kind of not that they're in control once they sell it, but that kind of goes against where this belongs is
in a library
or in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. So
that's where it should belong to. But it should belong to the people.
Theoretically, Wu-Tang does still have something.
Yeah.
I mean, they say they sold all of this, to whoever bought it at auction.
The masters, I would assume they still have. I'd assume the RZA has the masters of those.
You would think he would have, right? But if the contract says that he doesn't, then he doesn't. I would never cast aspersions on any member of the Wu-Tang Clan to not honor a contract. I mean, those guys are as scrupulous as you get. So, like, I don't know. If RZA says he signed it away, it's signed away.
I also have always wondered how this plays in. I've never did the research on this, but the plays into like their own individual contracts with the record labels. And because
that's more complicated than
because then my question as well too is that they're not independent artists as I know it.
Well, they are independent. Well, that was part of the deal, right? If you're a Wu affiliated artist, you are supposed to also have your own record deal.
Right.
Like they were never supposed to be exclusive. They were supposed to be a collective that also had. So
like Ghostface has a Def Jam deal, I think. Or no, actually, he's on Matt. I think he might actually be independent at this point. But like, if any of those are under the big label, Universal or one of those right there, like, does Universal own the masters of this? Like,
I don't think so, because the things, from what I understand of the original Wu contract, was the things that they recorded as the Wu are theirs, belong to Wu, but they're also totally allowed to have their own stuff.
Right.
And in fact, encouraged to do so. It's a 31 track, 120-minute long album. It also features Cher,
I know, this is
Redman, Barcelona FC players like singing as a chorus, maybe? We don't know.
They could use the money.
Yeah, right? And it's called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. Like, as somebody who is connected to Staten Island,
Right.
that place needs help. At the very least,
One of the most unique places I've ever
the
worked
government should seize the album and everything related to it and then give the proceeds to the good people of the Shaolin.
Yeah.
They need the help. They're down to 2 Duncans on that island.
2 Duncans?
2 Duncans. And
that's gonna piss people off. People will be angry.
Not up there. Man, those people are furious without their Duncan. They need it. There's got to be at least 6 or 7 more built.
Yeah.
And several $1 million could help fund that.
One of the most unique places I've ever driven through.
Yeah, through.
Yeah.
Try staying there for a week.
I can't even imagine. It just like I got gas at the Costco's over there.
Come with me next time.
It's very interesting. It's an interesting layout, especially like up on that big. I don't know. I drove through some hill where it obviously seemed like
Toad Hill, where all the mobsters live.
I was gonna say, yeah,
it's pretty great. That's how you get to the good Starbucks.
All my Goombas up there.
Yeah. They'd let you in.
Hey, good. I drop a few names.
You'll be all right. You and Tarico.
Italians love me.
All right.
I am one.
Yeah, you hear the music, which means we've come to the end of the show. We want to say thank you to Ashley Iman for being
just
such an amazing guest. Please go get her book.
Come fill in for me whenever I want vacation.
For real. You are super invited to the show, and you can just drop by. Really, I mean, you have a standing invite.
Yes, just great interview.
Yeah. So thank you again. We can't wait for the next book to come out. Thanks to our radio partners, WFUNN, WNOFN, and KNPNW. Can decipher that one. Thanks to Spotify, Google, Spreaker, all those guys too. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, maybe. Don't know.
Hopefully, or twice.
Thanks, as always, to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as the Dow Jones this week. All right, where can everybody get you on the socials there, Tez?
You can find me at Ketchum Cordy on Instagram. That fiefdom is Meta. You can find me on the hellscape that is Twitter, which I have more Nats content for you all as of late. And that is at DC Cortez. And as always, I actually need to figure out my password. I haven't logged into Blue Sky since I restored my phone. I need to go back on there and find out what's going on in the flaming liberal bastion that is Blue Sky. But you can find me there at DC Cortez.
All right, you can find me and the show at ChipChatRR on Twitter, hanging out with Batman, Esther Chamakili. And you can, of course, find us on Facebook or Instagram at Rip Chip Chat, rocking the old school. And you can find us most Thursday nights, like tonight, at 9:30 here on Beltway Radio. I'm Chip. That's Tez. That's Bryan. That was Ashley. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Street balls.
Ha!
Another chapter in history, another verse. Trump promises political violence, but no hearse. MTG and Shapiro try to rap, but don't rehearse. These right-wing nuts can't get any better, just worse. Tez and Chip out here trying to save the republic like Tez on the golf course. It ain't private, just public. When we have a drink in the bar, it's not beer, it's a public. It's hard to get something to rhyme with this subject. If we get famous, we can give a shout out to Bryan. To get us out on time is what he be trying. The show is like a custom feathered avian that knows words. How can we stay late when our guest is Illy Bird? In conclusion, the message is to go out and serve folks, whether that's through art, music, or if you just tell jokes. Seek to medicate your ears, hope you eradicate your fears. Thanks for sticking with us through all these years.